We did a... Okay, good. First trick we're going to do for you is just about the closest thing to self-working magic that you're ever going to learn. It's called the chords of Fantasia. And the basic principle of this trick goes back about 400 years. It was something called Grandma's Necklace, and it was published in the very first book ever written about magic in the English language. It was a book called Hocus Pocus Jr. And we're going to show it to you. I do need a spectator from the audience to help out with this. So, Mike, would you mind coming up? Let me move this just a bit. And what I'm going to do is have you hold this magic wand. You can hold it by the ends. Now, I should say you don't necessarily need a magic wand to make this trick work. You can use a pencil or a pen or any kind of stick that you happen to have around the house. Uses a magic wand, a couple of shoelaces, which are very solid, and you can let the audience examine those. And it also uses a couple of rings. These can be finger rings. I'll use mine, but they can be borrowed finger rings, or they can be little curtain rings, or any kind of rings will work. Now what we do, we have a solid magic wand. Whoops, hang on, okay. There we go. We have a solid magic wand. We have two solid shoelaces, and we're going to tie the shoelaces onto the wand with a knot, just like that. Now I'm going to take one ring and thread it on this shoelace. We'll take the other ring and thread it on this shoelace, like so. Having done that, we will further tie the rings onto the wand and the laces by making another single overhand knot, so that they really are solidly fastened right onto the wand and the cords. Now I'm going to ask you to let go for just a second, and I'm going to take the wand and slip it out here and thread it right through both rings. Just like this. Whoops, get on there. There we go. And I'll ask you, Mike, if you would, to re-grasp the ends of the wand. All right? Hold on tightly. Watch closely. 1, 2, 3. And you see the rings penetrate right through both shoelaces onto a solid magic wand. Now we'll explain exactly how it's done. And just to make it a little bit easier, if you don't mind, I'm going to ask you to stay here for just a second, because we do need somebody to hold it. Then I'll show you how you can practice it by yourself. It's a very simple trick, but it looks very impressive. All you do, you have the spectator hold the ends of the wands, and you drape the two shoelaces right over the wand, just like that. Now you tie the shoelaces using a single overhand knot, like the first part of your tying your shoes, just like that. Now you've apparently tied those laces onto the wand. However, if we can back up for just a second, if I were to pull the wand out, you'll see that the only thing holding that together is the wand, right? Okay, so it's not really a knot. I mean, it looks like a knot, but the only thing holding the thing together is the wand or the pencil or whatever you're using. So let's turn a little bit like that for the camera. All right, terrific. So you take those two laces and you tie them like that. It looks very good. You can jerk on those. You can do whatever you want to do. Now you take a ring, and it's better to use borrowed rings, because for all your audience knows, you might have special rings that open up or something like that. And you thread these two ends through there like that. You thread these two rings through that ring, just like that. Now, you're in this position. You let one end drop from each hand. It doesn't really matter which. And you tie one more single overhand knot. Now keep track, however, of which lace goes with which. This is the your right lace, and this is your left lace. And you have those, and you can pull those up as tightly as you wish. Grab them like so. I'm grabbing this between the thumb and the forefinger. Can you see that? And I'm grabbing this down here like so. Now you have the spectator let go for just a moment. You slip the wand out of the laces. Now that's going to undo the knot, or the apparent knot, that you made. And now you slip the wand through the rings. The wand or the pencil or whatever does not go through any part of the laces, just the ring. And you have them re-grasp the ends like so. Now you take the original two ends in each hand, and simply by giving them a tug like that, the rings apparently penetrate through the laces onto the wand. Now there's a strange thing that happens here, because they have seen you, they sit there and they watch you put the wand or the pencil through the two rings, and yet the effect that they get, and this is one of those weird psychological things that happens in magic, the effect that they get is that somehow the rings penetrated off of the strings and popped onto the wand. Well, they were on the wand all the time, but that's not what people remember. Somehow they think that they came off solid cords, went onto a solid wand, and you've got a real miracle. And all you really have to carry with you are two shoelaces, or if you have shoelaces in your shoes, you can just pull those out of your shoes, or it doesn't even have to be shoelaces, just a couple pieces of string about that size. And it's impromptu. You can do it anywhere you want to go, and it's as close as you can get to a self-working magic trick. It's really amazing. Thank you, Mike, for helping out. I appreciate it. That's the chords of Fantasia, and they will probably, in the printed instructions that Next trick we're going to learn is called the double card reverse. This is a very easy thing to do as long as you memorize the steps involved in doing the trick. And it's a real lesson in psychology of magic, because an awful lot of magic is psychology. It's pretending to do one thing while you actually do something else, and so forth. And to help illustrate this, John, if you wouldn't mind coming forward, I have a pack of playolas here, a pack of playing cards. You can check these out, and I'll ask you if you would please to shuffle these up. Make sure they're real cards. Look for secret marks, shaved edges, chewing gum on the aces. It's a brand new deck. So they are stacked in factory order. Just mix those around as long as you like. And I should mention that these are ordinary cards. As a matter of fact, I picked these up at Kmart today when no one was looking. All right. Now, yeah, what I'm going to do, we'll place the deck right here on the table, and I'll ask you to cut the deck into two approximately equal piles, if you would please. Having done that, we have this pile and this pile. I would like for you to pick up either pile you like. Whichever pile you pick up is the pile you will use. Whichever pile is left is the one that I will use. So just pick up either one that you want for you. You took the larger pile, I don't blame you. Now, I'd like to ask you to do exactly as I do. I'm going to concentrate for just a second. Place the packet of cards behind your back. And having done that, I would like for you to behind your back, and I'm going to do the same thing as you're doing, so that I can't see what you're getting and you can't see what I'm getting. I'm going to ask you, if you would, to pull out one card from that packet of cards. Bring it out in front of you. Look at that card and memorize it. You might want to show it to the rest if you like, but just memorize the card just so you don't forget it. And now bring out your packet of cards, and I'm going to place my card face down in your half of the packet. And I would like for you to take your card and place it face down somewhere in the center of my packet of cards, just anywhere you like. All right? Terrific. Now, if you would please, take half of that deck that you're holding and turn it face up into my hand. And I'm going to place my cards that are face down on top of that half packet, and I'll turn the balance of what you have face up and place it right there. Okay, so as you can see, we have half the pack face up and half the pack face down. Now, I hope you remembered your card. You did? Mm-hmm. All right, good.
It was on camera.
Okay. All right. Now, I'm going to move these aside for just a second. I'm going to ask you to hold out your hand like that. Place your other hand right on top. And I want you to turn your hands this way. And now turn them the other way. And now the other way. That's good. And now if you will hand me back the deck. Did you feel me doing anything peculiar to those cards while they were in between your hand? Not at all? All right. Take off this hand, please. I'm going to take the deck half face up and half face down. Now watch. We simply give the cards a spread across the tabletop like so. And you will see that each and every card in the entire deck is now running face up with the exception of 2 cards. I looked, John, at the 5 of diamonds. What card did you look at?
10 of clubs.
The 10 of clubs. Watch. Okay? Thank you. You can have a seat, and then I'll explain how that one's done. All right. This is based on psychology more than it is, there's no sleight of hand really to this. If you give this a few minutes of practice by yourself and read the instructions and all that, you can do this very easily. But everything that you do has a psychological reason. You have the person shuffle up the cards, which they do. Then you have the person place the cards face down on the tabletop, and you ask them to cut that into approximately 2 piles. And then you ask them to take whichever pile of cards they want. He happened to take the one closest to him. He could have taken this one. It doesn't really matter. But let's say that he took that one. All right, so I'll put that up there, and that's John's pile of cards. Here's my pile of cards. Now, I said I want you to do exactly what I do. Now, as I did that, what I was doing, I was peeking at the bottom card of that packet, which happens in this case to be the 7 of spades. Earlier it was the 5 of diamonds. And I said, I want you to do exactly what I do. Now, it takes very little practice, and I know this is true because even with glasses, I do not have 20/20 vision. It takes very little practice to do this and see the 7 of diamonds without doing this kind of thing. You just do it, and you can see it out of your peripheral vision. So now you know that that bottom card is the 7 of diamonds. Now you say, I'd like for you to do as I do. Place your packet behind your back, which you did, and I want you to pull out any card. Now what happens, once you get the hand behind the back, and I'm going to turn my back to the camera and to you so you can see what I'm doing, the minute you're remembering that card, the 7 of diamonds, the minute the card packet goes behind the back, 7 of spades. Okay, what did I say?
7 of diamonds.
Oh, okay, 7 of spades. The minute your hand goes behind your back, you flip the packet like that, so it's face down. Now you flip it face up, and you turn the 7 of spades face down on top of that packet. Now, meanwhile, your assistant or your audience volunteer is busy trying to find a card somewhere in his or her packet. Now, while that's happening, I've done that. I pull out any card at random. It's easiest to take this card here on the bottom, and I flip that over. All right, now, let me turn back around. I say, I want you to look at your card and memorize it. And I even had you show it to other people in case you forgot it. And sometimes people will. Now, by the way, don't ever do what I just did. I was gesturing to you. That's a dead giveaway, so I'm sorry about that. I'm trying to explain this, but I'm not... okay, you got to keep your hand like this, because they think now the packet is face down that you have. It's really face up with the exception of the 7 of spades, which you memorized, which is right there. Now you say, I want you to look at your card, memorize it, and you can even have them show it around to the rest of the group. In fact, that's a really good idea for 2 reasons. Sometimes people get flustered, they forget their card. Secondly, occasionally they lie just to screw you up, and it's amazing how often that happens. So if you have them show their card around to the rest of the group, then at least if they lie and say, no, my card was the 3 of clubs, then at least you got other people who will stick up for you, and that's important. All right, now you've pulled this card out at random. To recap, you have sighted that card. You've turned your back. While your back was turned and they can't see, you've turned the 7 of spades face down. You've pulled out a card at random and turned it face down so that when you turn back around, it looks like this, and everything looks fair. Now, I tell you to look at... don't do that. I tell you to look at your card, and I'm going to look at my card. You don't pay any attention to what this card is. You don't care what this card is. It doesn't make any difference, because all you are worried about is the 7 of spades, which is right here. There we go. All right. 7 of spades is all you care about. So you look at that, pay no attention to that card. He looks at his card. Now let's say the card he looked at was the 2 of clubs. So you say, I'd like for you to place, well, first of all, you say, I'm going to place my card in the center of your deck. Now this is the card you did not remember.
So you
have to remember it because...
No, you don't have to remember this for any reason at all, because what's going to happen when you put your card in his half of the deck, it's going to be lost. It's going to be face down, just like all the others. Okay? Now, he's going to place his card in your half of the deck, which is the two of clubs, which he does. Now what happens is, you've got a face-up packet of cards with only two face-down cards, one of which is his card, the two of clubs. The other one on top is your card, the seven of diamonds. Okay? So now you have this all squared up, just like that. Now I told John, please cut off half of the deck and turn that half face up, which he did. And I placed what was apparently a face-down packet of cards on top of his face-up packet of cards. But remember, they're really all face-up anyhow, except for those two cards. Okay? So I had him place those here. I put those here, and then I said turn the rest of them face-up, and I placed them right there. And it looks great. It looks like you've got half face-up and half face-down. When in fact, if you look at it, what you really have is an entirely face-up deck of cards with only two face-down, and one of them will be the one you claimed that you took, and the other one will be the one that he actually took. Now at that point, just to add a little dressing, and it's always important to build these things up as best you can. Let me get resituated here. There we go. You have it like this. At that point, apparently nothing's happened yet. Two people have taken cards, you, the magician, and your audience volunteer. At that point, you simply square up the deck, and you have he or she hold the deck between the palms of the hands. And you can do anything at this point. You can tap on the back of their hands with a magic wand. You can have them do this kind of thing, whatever. But that part's important. It seems silly, but it's all part of the build-up. Because apparently you've not done anything sneaky yet, even though at this point all of your work is done. You've done everything you need to do to make this trick work right. But it's important to give it a good build-up for two reasons. One, it gives a definite point at which there's a climax, and secondly, it gives a reason why the magic happened. And by the time they get through doing all this junk, or you're beating on their hand with a magic wand or whatever, it tends to confuse the mind, and they can't remember exactly what happened. So now, you spread the cards out, or you can just fan them in your hands, or whatever you want to do. And you say, my card was the seven of spades. Seven of spades? Yeah. And your card was the what? And he or she says the two of clubs. And you just reach in, it doesn't make any difference which one's where, and you end up with the two of spades and the seven of clubs. And it's a real miracle, and there's a lot of little psychological subtleties that go into it. And a lot of this you will use in a lot of other magic tricks. For example, this whole business of putting the card packets behind your back is a farce, because apparently what you're doing is put them behind your back and select a card. This way I don't know which card you got, and you don't know which card I got. Well, you couldn't care less, really, when you get right down to it. But it makes it sound impressive. But in fact, putting the card behind your back is the only way you can make the trick work. So it's one of those little psychological things wherein apparently you're making this much more impossible to do. But in fact, sticking them behind your back is what makes the trick work. Any questions on that? It's a great trick. This was invented by a man named Francis Carlyle, who was one of the greatest card men in the Okay. We're going to learn card control right now. Basically, when you watch a professional card manipulator work, he will have you select a card. And you can select any card you want. You can place it anywhere you want in the deck. He will square up the deck. He might give it a shuffle. He might not. He might cut the cards. He might not. But in spite of the fact that you placed your card anywhere you wanted to place it, your card is going to end up on top of the deck. And there are many, many ways. There are entire books written on how you can control a spectator's card to the top of the deck or the bottom of the deck, and in some of the really weird ones, You can control a spectator's card second or third from the top, and all kinds of strange things. But for our purposes and for learning basic magic, I really believe that the Hindu shuffle is the best thing going for controlling a playing card. First of all, it's relatively easy to do compared to many other methods. I'll give you an example. Let's say the person selected that card, which is the 7 of hearts, and they place it back on top of the deck. I'm going to do this in incredibly slow motion. This is a sleight called the pass. There's the 7 of hearts. You cover it up with the balance of the deck, but you keep your little finger in there. And then, faster than the eye can see, you switch the top and bottom halves of the packet. Now, I did that really, really slow, but the upshot is that their card ends up on top of the deck. That costs you hours and hours of grief and misery and sore fingers, and you still may not get it down properly, because no matter how fast you do it, if you blow it, they're going to see some sort of blur, they're going to hear some sort of noise. So we're going to teach you how to do card control by something called the Hindu shuffle. The Hindu shuffle is relatively easy to do, which is one big advantage. The other big advantage is that it looks skillful. If you learn this, you will get credit for card handling ability way beyond the amount of time you put into it. First, we're just going to learn the Hindu shuffle by itself with no fake moves or nothing tricky, and I'm going to show you what it is. I'm sure you're all familiar with the overhand shuffle, where you hold a deck like this and you just start peeling cards off the bottom like that. It's a very basic shuffle. It's probably the easiest shuffle you can do, just the old overhand shuffle. Well, the Hindu shuffle is really the same thing, except you change your grip. Instead of holding the cards like this by the narrow ends, you're holding the cards by the broad or the longer ends or sides, and you're holding them down near the corners closest to you. And you're pulling off, this is a little bit hard to describe, but let me hold it right in here and see what happens. You're pulling off little packets of cards with your thumb and middle finger off the top of the deck, and you're letting them drop to the palm of your other hand. Is everybody here right-handed? Everybody? Okay, good. So my explanations won't be confusing, but if you were left-handed, we told you how to do it backwards. Okay. You're just pulling off little packets. This is a perfectly legitimate shuffle. It actually will mix up a deck of cards. Now, I'm doing it very slowly, but it doesn't have to be done that slowly. You can do it as quickly or as slowly as you want to do it, and you're pulling little packets of cards off the top of the deck. And you really are shuffling up a deck of cards. Done once more slowly, I'll show you an interesting thing, which we'll get to in a second. Bottom of the card, or bottom of the deck, is the 2 of hearts. I'm just going to start riffling off little packets from the top. I still have the 2 of hearts here. Okay? We'll do a few more. I still have the 2 of hearts. A little bit more. Whoops. And I still have the 2 of hearts. This will come in handy for something we'll teach you a bit later. But and then you drop that, then you've lost the 2 of hearts. But it's not that difficult a thing to do, but it's the basis of how to control a playing card and also how to force a playing card. In other words, you can use the Hindu shuffle to let a person take absolutely any playing card they want out of the deck, and yet you want them to take the 3 of clubs, and they will invariably take the 3 of clubs. In other words, it looks like they have a free choice, but they have no choice whatsoever. It's called a force. So, again, the action is just in a regular Hindu shuffle, as you're holding the cards like this. I usually just hold them with the thumb and the middle finger, but if you want to, you can help support it with your first finger. And you're just pulling with the thumb and middle finger of the other hand. You're simply pulling a little packet of cards off the top. You let them drop. You hold this hand sort of in a caged position. If you can see, I have 3 fingers on this side. My forefinger is down here, and so, I mean, if you didn't do that, in other words, you would end up with like this kind of thing. That look good on camera? Hello, home viewers. Now, so that's it. You got that finger down there. You're pulling these little packets of cards off the top. You're letting them drop. They won't go anywhere because your finger's down there. Not only that, because of the way you've made a little cage here with your fingers, the cards automatically square up as they go into the left hand. Now, when we did the first run around on this particular course, we did have guys come back the next week, and they had some problems with the Hindu shuffle. And I thought about that, and as opposed to spending a lot of time with each and every one of you, because I don't know what problems you might have, I thought just as an experiment, we could have somebody try it. So Mike, would you come up, and I'm going to watch you do it. I'll show it to you up close, real close, and then I can sort of critique what you're doing, because you may or may not do things that I can help you out with. All right, you have the cards like so. Mm-hmm. You're going to strip off little packets of cards off the top, and you're going to drop each packet, that is, into your left hand. And then once you get it up to speed, it looks kind of like that. It looks real good. It's not that hard to do, but it looks like, whoa, I wouldn't want to play poker with Mike, you know, that kind of thing. Okay, give that a try. Grab the cards here with your thumb here and your third finger there. If you want, while you're learning, it might be easier to actually have two fingers there. Now sort of tilt your hand down at that angle. That's right. Get this finger up sort of in the middle here. Pull little packets off the top. Let them drop. That's right. That's right. That's exactly it. Mm-hmm. Yeah, make sure they always come off the top. There you go. Yeah, yeah. Good. Thank you. Yeah, I'm real happy with that, because last time we didn't have actually somebody come up and do it. And I'm real happy with that, because you saw him learning how to do it for the first time, and it's just that easy to do. But it's the basis of some of the really fundamental card work that we'll be learning in the weeks to come. So while you're at home, get out your deck of cards and just practice doing that. You won't do it this quickly the first time you do it. And the first time you do it, you'll probably be stripping cards out of the middle. You'll be stripping cards off the bottom. They'll be coming from every which place. Just do it at about this speed, making sure that those cards absolutely come off the top of the deck in little packets. Once you're used to doing this, and a really good way to practice without boring yourself to tears is sit down and watch TV. And just sit there and do it, you know. If you want to, you can wait till the commercial comes on. Eventually you'll get to the point you can watch TV when the commercial's not on and you want to know what's happening, and you can do it by feel. And when it becomes second nature, then you've got a dynamite shuffle that can be used for a lot of other things. So that's the Hindu shuffle. Any questions on the Hindu shuffle? Does it make sense? Okay, terrific. All right, and that's just a real shuffle. But we're going to learn some interesting ways to use the Hindu shuffle. The gentleman with the glasses, I know you're a doctor, but what? Dr. Butler? C-L-A-I-R. Okay, Butler. All right. If you would come up, I would like to show you an application of the Hindu shuffle. And first of all, mix up the cards. Whenever I have somebody that I'm doing card magic with, I always like them to mix up the cards, unless it's their deck. If they loan me a deck, if I'm at a party and they give me their deck, then they know they're okay. But if I whip out my own deck, for all they know, I've got TV magic cards by Marshall Brodeen or some perverted thing like that. And so I always like for them to look through the cards and check them out and make sure they're real and not fake cards. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to start shuffling through the deck, Dr. Butler, and I'm going to ask you to simply say stop anywhere you like.
Okay, stop.
Right there. Okay. Would you please take a look at that card? Show that around to the rest of the group. Please don't let me see it. All right, good. We'll drop the rest of the cards back on top. If I have my back turned to you, there's no way I could tell you which card you selected. And yet, through the use of my psychic power, which I bought from Ed Kaczmarek for $2.25, I am going to tell you the card that you and you alone know. Well, these people know, but they're not going to tell me. Okay? Would you grab my right wrist with your left hand? That's good. Yeah, don't cut off the circulation,
Okay,
just
we
hold
got
the
it.
wrist. All right, good. I'm going to fan through the cards, and I'm going to attempt to find the card that you, and you alone, know in this room. Was your card the Queen of Hearts?
Queen of Hearts.
Queen of Hearts. Yeah, how about that? All right, if you'll stay with me for just a second, I'll show you how that's done. It's the same thing I just showed you. Remember when I told you that, okay, let's say the bottom of the deck is 7 of hearts, and no matter how much you do the Hindu shuffle, the bottom will always be the 7 of hearts. Doesn't make any difference how much you do, it's going to be the 7 of hearts. Now, he said stop at a certain point, and I said, please take a look at that card. And he looked at it, and it's okay to show me this time. It's okay, you got the Ace of Hearts. Now, remember, your bottom card here is the 7 of Hearts. And he puts it back, and you make this big deal about turning your head and all that, and you just dump the rest of it on there. Now, I ask you to hold my wrist with your left hand. Now, again, this is just showmanship. It's just part of presentation. And it's a little extra something that helps you put across the idea that what you're doing is really mysterious. Now all I do, remember, the 7 of Hearts went on top of his card, so all I did, I thumbed through the deck very quickly. And I'm doing it slower now than I did earlier, but you can see what's going on. I thumbed through the deck. There's the 7 of Hearts, and the card underneath the 7 of Hearts has to be his card, the Ace of Hearts, which is in fact the one that you stopped at, you see. And so it's a very easy thing to do. It's another application of the Hindu shuffle, and you can take a seat. And thanks for helping me out. Again, I think I pointed this out earlier. He shuffled up the deck. He placed it on the table. And the easiest way to spot the bottom card, now many times, this is a real strange thing, many times people will stand there when you ask them to shuffle the deck, they'll do this. And they'll flash the face card right at you, which in this case is the 3 of Hearts. Or they will do a shuffle like this, where they'll do this kind of stuff, and they'll flash that right at you, 6 of Diamonds. Now, if they do either one of those two things, you got it made in the shade, because they can place those cards face down, and you already know the bottom card. However, if they do it like so, and you have no chance to figure out the bottom card, it's a very simple matter. By having the spectator there, you say, now we're going to do an experiment. And it's the same thing I showed you earlier. You're apparently looking right at them, but you're really glimpsing the bottom card, which is the 8 of Diamonds. And again, it's very easy to do. My right eye with glasses is 20/25 vision. My left eye with glasses is 20/55 vision. And that's as good as they can get it. And yet, by simply doing that, I could still tell that it was the 8 of Diamonds on the bottom of the deck. So it's a real easy thing to do. Just try it a few times, and you got it. And you simply have them say stop. They say stop, they look at their card, there's the Queen of Clubs, you dump the rest of it on top. The rest of it is showmanship. You can have them hold their wrist, or you can deal through the cards and say, I would like for you to think stop anywhere you like, and you just deal through, and you're looking for the 8 of Diamonds. Let me hold it up here so you can see. And you say, don't say anything, just think stop. Now, here's the 8 of Diamonds. You see the Queen of Clubs, so you know that's the one they selected. Just keep dealing. Don't hesitate there. Just keep dealing all the way through. And then you can look dramatic. You can put on a turban. You can do anything you want to do. And then you look them right in the eye, and would you please concentrate? I get the impression that your card was a black card. I get the impression, is that correct? And they say yes. I get the impression, furthermore, that it was not a spade. Is that correct? I get the impression it was a royal card. Was your card the Queen of Clubs? And they say yes. Now, by the time you've gone through all that, as simple as the method is, you really have a miracle, because it's your presentation, it's the way you've done it, it's your showmanship, and they go, you know? And they're going to say, where do you work, Mike?
Work in Sarasota.
At what?
Oh, in a broker.
Okay. And they're going to say, there's this guy down there at that brokerage house that can read minds. Thank you, Tom Mulligan. Anyway, that's that. We have a tape here. Oh. Are you off? Okay. Now we're going to learn a thing called the coin through handkerchief. This is one of the very first things I ever learned in my life. We included this on my Be a Magician tape, which I told you about earlier, and much to my surprise, it fooled people once I was years old, just about as well as it did when I was 10 years old. So I'm going to teach it to you, and it's a very easy thing to do, and you don't need anything at all, except a handkerchief and a coin. Now I have a handkerchief here and a pinch. Sometimes I have used a napkin. If you're in a restaurant, they have cloth dinner napkins. Those work very nicely. In an extreme pinch, I have sometimes done this with a paper napkin. It doesn't work as well, but it works. Now, what you're going to do is take a coin. You can use a $50, a quarter, or whatever you have. I would suggest using something at least as big as a quarter. These are Chinese coins, which I carry with me, and I do a whole little act with Chinese coins, but I just happen to have them with me, so we'll use that. What you're going to do is show the handkerchief and the coin, and you're going to place the coin underneath the handkerchief. And you mentioned to the audience you can actually see the outline of the handkerchief beneath the coin. Not only that, you can actually hear the handkerchief beneath the coin, which in fact they can. You can, I don't know if that picks up on the microphone, but I think it does. Not only that, you can actually see the coin beneath the handkerchief. It really is there. Now watch closely. We're going to take the thing. As you can see, all the corners and all the edges of the handkerchief are down here. And I'm going to wind up the fabric kind of like that, so that the coin is trapped right there in the center of the handkerchief. Now watch closely. By simply pushing and pulling through that fabric, I can actually cause the coin to penetrate right through the center of that cloth. You can actually see the hole forming, just like that. And I'm keeping this pinched right here. You can actually see the center of the handkerchief has absolutely no hole. It's very effective and it's surprisingly easy to do if you pay attention to a few important details. Now what happens is, and if you looked ahead at the illustrations in your instructions, you already got it, you hold the coin here and you drape the fabric over it. Now I'm going to do this entire thing sideways so you can see what happens. Now the only thing you've got to do is you're pinching the coin here, and your left thumb, if you can see that wiggling there, is pinching a bit of that fabric up against the coin and the other part of the fabric. In other words, if you didn't have the handkerchief there, your thumb's going to move back and pinch a little fold of the cloth against the back side of the coin. So what it looks like when you actually have a handkerchief there, you go right to dead center, pinch this here, and do like that. It's almost like a little hand puppet, you know? All right? It's all right. You know, it's like that. So you're just pinching a little flap of stuff there. Now the upshot is, and what you want to happen, the reason you do that is if you were to turn your hand upside down right now, which you're not going to do, but if you did, everything's going to stay there, as opposed to simply having the coin covered with a handkerchief and doing this, and then it's all going to flutter off and that kind of thing. So that's your first move, and the most important move, well, second most important move. Put that right there. You pinch that little bit of fabric right up against the coin. Now you say you can see the outline of the coin. And again, I'm going to do all this sideways. You can hear the coin. Tap it with your wand or a pen or whatever you happen to have handy. You can actually see the coin. Now you're pulling up the top part of the handkerchief and letting it rest here on your wrist. And now they can actually see the coin. Okay? Now you apparently are going to do this to cover the coin back up. In fact, what you do is you grab this and you grab this and you pull the whole thing down in front. So what you end up with is this situation here, where your hand and the coin are really in back of the handkerchief. Okay? Now, of course, you're like this, and you say you can actually see the coin. You don't do this, because then that would be painfully obvious. You do it rather quickly, just like that. It looks perfect if you do it with proper timing. You've got to do this in front of the mirror. And I don't think we said that before. Most of these things should be practiced in front of the mirror. And when it looks good to you in the mirror, it will look good to any human being walking the earth. So you've got this situation. You say you can see the outline of the coin underneath the handkerchief. You can hear that the coin is underneath the handkerchief. Furthermore, you can actually see that the coin, remember the audience is out there, that the coin is underneath the handkerchief. All right. Now at this point, let me turn back around front and illustrate a point. At this moment, if you were to do this, that would be absolutely fatal, because there's no illusion there. I mean, now you suddenly have the amazing hand penetrating through the handkerchief trick. Because if you really had what it looks like, there's no way you could do that. So you have to do this. So you got the coin in that position, and you do this. Now, let me show you a back view I think would be the easiest here. You pinch this up here, you wrap the handkerchief around like so, and you just cover up what guilty stuff might be exposed with your thumb. And now you can show it all the way around. It looks very good. Emphasize that the corners and the edges of the handkerchief are down here at the bottom. The center is up here. Now, if I can get my elbow out of the camera, here we go. You're going to apparently start pulling that coin through the center of the handkerchief. What you're really doing is pushing with your thumb. You're sort of gripping and ungripping with your left hand here, because you've got to let out a little slack and take up the slack and so forth. It's a very hard thing to describe, but hopefully you can see what I'm doing, because right up to the last minute, the fabric looks as if it's stretched very tightly, and it's very important to the illusion. And you want to keep that fabric stretched very tightly so that it looks like it's actually coming out of a hole in the center. You pull that out. Remember, you're looking at the back view. Then your thumb and finger of the other hand keep that pinched, which allows you to spread that out over the palm of the other hand and show that there's absolutely no hole. It's a very effective illusion. It's very simple, but an awful lot of the beginner's books on magic don't give you the real inside dope on how it ought to be done and all the little fine points. So you're draping this over like this, you're showing it like that, you're pulling both sides over like that, you're coming down and not out to the side. You're wadding up the bottom of the handkerchief. You're covering up that bad part with your thumb so you can show it both sides. And you're pretending to pull it out while you're really pushing it up with your other thumb. And you come out just like that. You pinch like so. You let that drape over the other hand, right where the hole apparently is. And there you are. Any questions on that? Hopefully that made sense. Questions? Nope, nope. Okay, good. Okay, to go along with that last thing, in fact, on my video, I combined these as a routine called the invisible hole. If ever you can find 2 or 3 tricks to string together that have a similar kind of theme, you are way ahead of the audience, because you're going to do 2 or 3 tricks that work on entirely different principles, and yet you're doing apparently the same kind of thing. Now, the upshot is you confuse your audience all to pieces because they don't really know what happened. So, for example, if you could make a coin go through the middle of the handkerchief, if you could make your finger go through, if you could make a wand go through, if you could make firecrackers explode through the handkerchief and leave no holes, if you could do these things one right after another, the more of that kind of thing you can do in a single routine, then they just walk away scratching their heads because so much stuff has gone on that they can't really figure out what went on. So here's a little follow-up to the coin through the handkerchief, or the invisible hole trick, which you may want to call this. And this is called the pen through handkerchief, or it can be the wand through handkerchief. What you do is take the handkerchief, you drape it over your fist like that, with the center right over your fist, and you poke a little depression or a well or whatever you want to call it. You just poke that right into your fist like so. Then you take your wand or a pen or a pencil, whatever you happen to have, and you poke that right in there. And you can push on it. It won't do anything, obviously. It's trapped by the fabric. But then if you give it a little gentle tap with a magical touch, you can actually cause the wand to penetrate through the center of the handkerchief, right through that invisible hole. And once again, you can take a look where it went through, and there's absolutely no hole at all. Very easy thing to do, but it makes a nice combination with the coin through handkerchief because it works through two entirely different principles. And you can really confuse people with this. Now what you're doing is placing the handkerchief over the fist, and you're poking the fabric down into your fist, as I showed you. But you poke a couple, 3 times, and the second time you poke, you're actually, I'll show you the back view, you're actually using this middle finger to pull a fold of the handkerchief into the inside of your fist. So now once again, you've got a hand puppet kind of situation, sort of a second cousin to what you had before. All right? It's all right. Okay? Now, without the handkerchief, what would happen is you pretend you're holding an ice cream cone, you have the handkerchief here, you're poking down like that, and then you open up your thumb and your fingers to let the middle finger slide in and pull the outside of the handkerchief to the inside of the fist. Okay? That's as clear as I can make it in pantomime. Let me show you one more time from the back view. You're poking down like that. On your second or third poke, you're slipping the outside of the handkerchief to the inside of the fist. Now all you have to do is pick up your wand or your pencil or whatever you've got, shish kebab skewer, whatever, and you're literally poking. You can see what happens. It's really going down the outside of the handkerchief, but from the front, you create the perfect illusion that that actually goes right through the center of the fabric, and again, you can show that the thing, the hole has healed up, or whatever you want to say about it. A couple little important points, and one is that you want to make sure that you have more fabric on the front of your hand, a little bit more fabric on the front of the fist than is on the back of the fist. The reason for that being that if you did it the other way, with more fabric on the back of the fist than is on the front of the fist, it becomes painfully obvious what's happening, which is it's really going out the back, as you can see. So you want to make, well, it didn't look too bad from where I am, but I can't tell, I'm not out there. So you want to make sure you have a little more fabric on the front than you have on the back. And then you have an absolutely perfect illusion of a handkerchief being penetrated by a wand or a pencil or whatever. And again, don't forget to freeze. When that comes through, freeze and point to the spot at which the thing apparently penetrated. And it's a really nice illusion. Doesn't take a whole lot of practice, but with this, as with the others, do it for yourself in front of the mirror to make sure that it looks like magic to you. Excuse me. When it looks like magic to you, it will look like magic to everybody else in the world. Any questions? Okay. And okay. Now we're going to learn something called the finger palm. This is not a trick, but next week and the week after and so forth, we're going to teach you some dynamite stuff that you can do with this little thing called the finger palm. And the only reason we're introducing it this week is so that you have a chance to work on it, because it's not terribly difficult to do. but it feels real bizarre, and you need to get used to it, and you need to work on it this coming week, and then next week, as I say, we'll teach you some really nice stuff, and in the weeks to come, almost every week we'll do something that uses the finger palm. So I just want you to get familiar with the move. And again, you're not going to learn a magic trick out of this, or at least not a very good one, but I'll show you what the move is, and then in later weeks we'll apply it to some really nice stuff. Now, palming, I'm sure you've all heard of palming, and somebody says it went into his palm, but they don't really know what palming is. Classic palming would be taking a coin like this and apparently giving it a toss, and it disappears, but it really is here in the palm of the hand, which is where they got the word palming. It's gripped like that. Unfortunately, classic palming is incredibly difficult to do, and it is not well suited for everybody's hands. My hand, as a matter of fact, is a very narrow, bony, skeletal type of hand, and it's very difficult for me to classic palm a coin and do it naturally so it looks like there's nothing in my hand. It's almost impossible for me to do. Fortunately, there is an alternative, and it's called the finger palm, and it won't take nearly the practice this does, and it will look a lot more natural. The finger palm is done by placing a coin right there on the ring finger and the middle finger, and by simply slightly constricting your grip. You're just slightly tightening up your grip like that with those fingers to the point, just enough so that you can turn your hand palm down, and that coin will not fall out. It's very easy to do. If you squeeze it too tightly, you're going to look like you have arthritis. If you don't squeeze it tightly enough, it's going to fall out. And that's something that will just happen with experience, and I can't tell you how far to do it because everybody's fingers and hands are different. So it will depend on the structure of your hand and your fingers. But it's a relatively easy thing to do, to simply grip that between those two fingers. You can turn the hand palm down. Now, obviously, if you had your hand like this, not only would it look weird, but you probably wouldn't fool anybody. So let's say you have a coin hidden here on the hand, and you don't want anybody to pay any attention to that, then you just let it drop, which is what you would normally do. And if you watch, I don't know if you can see this or not, but if you watch, if I had my hand like this at my side with absolutely nothing in it, and if I had my hand at my side with a coin finger palmed, there's really not a whole lot of difference there. It looks pretty much the same. It's relaxed. It's exactly what your hand does when there's nothing in it. A lot of people, when they try to palm, especially if they're doing the classic palm, they try to do this. They try to do some weird thing that proves that they can't possibly have anything in their fingers, and it looks terrible, and it doesn't fool anybody, and it just makes you look like you're deformed or something. If your hand is actually empty and it's hanging at your side, or even if it's out here on the tabletop or something, this is what it looks like. The fingers are slightly curled, and that's it. So it's very difficult to tell the difference between that and that. Okay, so that's called the finger palm. Now you can use this for a great many things, and as I say, we're going to get into this next week, and I'm going to give you some tips on how to practice it. But for example, this is really crude, but you will see how this applies later in the context of a complete routine with several coins. You can have a coin right here and apparently place it into your hand, and then give it a squeeze. Come on. There we go. And the thing melts away. And of course it's over here. But it's all in your timing. If you were to actually place a coin into your hand, it would look like this. And there it is. And you just duplicate. You stand in front of the mirror and you duplicate those exact same actions. Give you an example. Mike, I'm going to do it one more time. Tell me whether I palmed the coin or if I really placed it here. Okay?
Placed it there.
Oh, good. All right. John, one more time. Good. All right. One more time. Your name is?
Betsy.
Betsy? All right.
Palmed it.
See, you can't really tell. If you do it properly, you can't really tell. What I tried to do with you, Mike, and it didn't work, I actually did place it there, but I was trying to do a fake kind of deal. Yeah, I was trying to do a fake kind of deal to make it look like I had done something. Yeah. So work on that. Now, I'll give you a few tips on palming, and we will get in, like I say, this is going to be very valuable in magic that not only will we be doing with coins in coming weeks, but also with balls and various kinds of things where you use the finger palm. There are many things you can do. One thing I suggest is walk around, get yourself a $50, a quarter, whatever feels comfortable. If you have larger hands, $50 will work easier. This is a $50 size. Walk around with a coin finger palm. If you have occasion to write a letter, for example, pick up an ink pen, have a coin palmed, sit there and write your letter. It'll feel really awkward at first, but you'll quickly get used to the notion of having something palmed while you're doing something else. When I play piano, for example, when I used to practice the classic palm, I actually sat there and played the piano with a coin classic palmed. And really hard to do at first, but eventually you get to where you can do it. So, you know, practice writing things while you have a coin finger palm. Practice just walking around if you're in a shopping mall or something. Get out a coin, put it in the finger palm, stick it there, put enough pressure on it so you won't lose it, but then forget about it and just walk around. And you're just walking around. And we could do Marcel, do a little mime stuff here. Anyway, just walk around, have it there, be aware in a way that you have it there, but really try to forget about it and just try to be as natural as you can. When you're palming a coin in your hand, if you don't want to be stiff. If your hand were really empty, there's no reason why it would be stiff. If you were walking down the street and your hand were really empty, you know, you're doing something kind of like that. Your arms are swinging. On the other hand, if you're learning how to palm a coin, there's a tendency to do this, where this arm just kind of stays there, and this arm swinging back and forth naturally. So learn how to do that. And let's see, I don't think there's anything else I wanted to tell you about the finger palm on this lesson. Oh, well, it gives you a couple little things in the notes. For example, if you want to practice this, you can, but I wouldn't recommend doing this week until you've learned a little bit more about it. You can pretend to place the coin in your other hand, and then you might be able to get away with this. You might not. It disappears, and then you reach behind the little kid's ear and you reproduce it. And all that you've done there is you do it this way, is you put your thumb there and you've sort of slid it up to your forefinger. That's real hard to do in slow motion, but that's one of the classic things you can do with a little kid. You place the coin here, you say, blow on my hand, and he does, and then you reach up, oops, and you reach up and you produce it at the tip of the thumb and forefinger. So it's a little something that you've not really learned a trick out of this as such, because I really don't recommend just standing there and doing this, because it's probably not going to fool anybody. They're going to say it's in your other hand, especially when you're beginning. But next week and the week after, we're going to be incorporating the finger palm into routines where so much stuff is going on, magically speaking, but they don't really have a chance to catch you at finger palming. In other words, the minute you finger palm something, something weird has happened over here, and it takes their mind off of this hand. As we say, it takes the heat off of this hand. So work on that. Just sort of walk around and be palming things and write letters while you're palming things, or if you're a two-finger typist, you can do this kind of thing or whatever, and it will really pay off big dividends, because we're going to learn some exciting stuff using the finger palm. Any questions? Okay, real good. Real nice having you here. Welcome to Lesson 2. Last week we learned how to do the Hindu shuffle, and this week we're going to teach you some different things you can do with the Hindu shuffle. And the way we're going to do this is to explain it as briefly as possible for purposes of video, and then we will shut that off and we will answer any questions that you might have. The idea of Hindu shuffle as a control, which is the first thing we're going to do, is how to have somebody pick a card, put it in the middle of the deck, and then secretly control the card that they selected to the top of the deck in the process of doing a shuffle. And here's the way the thing would look. I'm going to start shuffling through the deck, and would you please say stop anywhere you like.
Stop.
All right. Want this one or this one here?
Take the one on top.
One on top. All right. Would you take a look at that card?
Right.
And you can memorize that card. Okay. And now we're going to continue to shuffle the pack, like so. Now, what was the name of your card?
Queen. Hearts.
Queen of Hearts? All right. By doing the Hindu shuffle, I managed to get the Queen of Hearts to the top of the deck, and it's a relatively easy technique once you've learned the Hindu shuffle, and I'll show you what happens. Basically, when you do the Hindu shuffle, you're holding here, and you're gripping. Now, it's a fairly easy matter if they say stop right here, and they look at their card, which in this case is the King of Hearts. It's a fairly easy matter as you continue the shuffle to reach down and with your thumb and forefinger, or middle finger I guess it actually is, you are picking up a little packet off the top. And of course the card that they looked at, the King of Hearts, is on the top of that. You don't worry about just picking up the King of Hearts by itself. You just pick up half a dozen cards or 3 or 4 or whatever, and you hold them there. And this is what we call a break. You can see daylight through here. Now, of course, when you're working, you don't hold them sideways. Your end onto the audience like that. So now looking at it from the side, you're peeling off little packets from the top of the deck, and you keep peeling those things off until you strip off everything above, then you just drop that on top. That's the King of Hearts, and that's their card. It's a very simple thing to do once you're familiar with the Hindu shuffle, and you could actually repeat it if you wanted to. Once you had it on top, you could cut the deck and go at the whole thing again, and you would still end up with the King of Hearts on top. Only things to remember are to keep the end of the deck pointed at your spectators, and to keep the rhythm going, because if you do it quickly enough, it doesn't have to be done terribly fast, but if you do it quickly enough, you establish a rhythm, and they don't have time to see anything because you're constantly in motion. So that's how to do the Hindu shuffle as a control. Okay. Now we're going to show you how to force a card by using the Hindu shuffle, which you've already learned. It's a fairly simple technique. All you need is to pick up a deck, and I'm going to start shuffling through the deck, and I'm going to ask you, Jerry, to please say stop anywhere you like. Right there? Would you please look at that card? Memorize that card. All right. Now through my psychic powers, or whatever that you want to do, I perceive that your card was a black card. Is that correct? I feel it was a club. Is that right? Yeah. And I sense royalty. It means it can't be a jack. It's got to be a queen or a king. Your card was the Queen of Clubs, right? Okay, good. Now, to do that just by itself is a lousy, lousy trick, but there's several things we're going to learn that require you to force a card. And forcing a card means you apparently give somebody an absolutely free choice of any card they want in the deck, but they have no choice. They pick the card you wanted them to pick. Very easy to do. This is a piece of cake. All you do, you have the deck shuffled up, you sight the bottom card, or peek the bottom card. In this case, it's the Ace of Spades. And on last week's lesson, we showed you how to pick up the deck and ask you to concentrate, please, and by simply doing that, you manage to peek the bottom card, which is the Ace of Spades. Now, by nature of the fact that in the Hindu shuffle, you're always pulling packets of cards off the top, that bottom card never changes. It's always going to be the Ace of Spades. It just stays right there. Unless you mess something up terribly, you never lose that Ace of Spades. So let me put it back on the bottom, and I'll show you the timing. You do it fairly quickly. And your name was, I'm sorry?
Dennis.
Dennis? Dennis, say stop.
Stop.
Right there. Look at that card, please.
Yeah.
Okay? And it's the Ace of Spades. And you know it's the Ace of Spades. But it doesn't look as if to your spectators that there's any possible way you could know what that card was.
You when you went like that, and you already knew what it was.
Exactly.
It's the same because you're moving all your...
Right, exactly. And again, remember with the Hindu shuffle, nobody knows where the cards are coming from. If you do it with a rhythm and fairly quickly, They don't know whether the cards are coming out of the middle, off the bottom, off the top. They don't know what's going on, and they say stop, and you say memorize that card. Now, you know their card. They don't know that you know their card. Now you can have them shuffle the deck. You can have them do anything they want. They can cut the deck. They can put the deck in their pocket, but you still know their card. So the possibilities are almost limitless. And that is how to force a card the easy way. And now for a slightly more sophisticated way to force a card using the Hindu shuffle. In this one, you don't need to pick up the deck and peek at the bottom card. All you have to do is get a glimpse of the top card. And in some cases, this will be a better way to work it. In some cases, it doesn't really matter. But in the process of picking up a deck, you can do what's called a peek. Very simply, all you're doing is you're letting the deck bevel just a bit like that. And in the process of doing that, while the faces are toward you, you're just pulling off that top card just enough to glance at it, which is the 6 of spades. And so you know the top card is the 6 of spades. Now, you're going to shuffle the deck up and place that 6 of spades on the bottom. And there's a very easy technique for that. You simply peel off one card, which is the 6 of spades. Then you give it an overhand shuffle. Now, you've shuffled up a deck, and apparently you have absolutely no idea which card is which. And you start in, say stop anytime you like. They say stop, and you say please look at that card. And you still have forced a card, and you know it's the 6 of spades. So a little variation, there are times when that will come in handy. Our next trick is called the Magnificent 7. Uses 7 pennies, 7 dimes, 7 nickels, whatever you happen to have around. Pennies will probably be the easiest. And what I'm going to do is give you these coins. I'm going to ask you, if you would please, to count those into my hand one at a time. Make sure there actually are 7 coins.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
Perfect. All right. Now, I'd like for you to hold up your right hand, I guess that would be. Just hold your right hand right up here. Okay. And I'm going to count these into your hand one at a time. When I get to the last coin, I want you to close your hand very tightly so that I can't sneak anything out and can't sneak anything in. Are you ready? Here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Close. All right. Now, do you feel any warmth on the backside of your hand? Yeah, that's because I'm perspiring. Now, I'm going to simply wave my hand like this. Watch and feel. Do you feel that? It's slowly coming through. Look. 1 coin dropped right through the back of your hand. Now, would you count the coins that you have left?
6.
6. 1 coin went right through your hand. Okay. Didn't hurt? Good. Now, here's how it's done. It's basically an audible illusion. There are very few things like this in the magic business. Most of it is something that fools the eye. This one fools the ear. It's a combination of visual rhythm and auditory rhythm. So if you hold your hand up, I'll show you what I did. I had you count the coins into my hand, which you did. Then I sort of raked them around a little bit, and I let one of the coins right up here into sort of a finger palm position. I didn't really finger palm that coin, but I got it up there sort of out of the way so that if I curl my fingers slightly, you can no longer see that coin. It's out of your visual range. Then I started picking up coins like this, and I'll turn sideways just a bit so you can see what happens. I pick up 1, and I place it here. 2, and I place it here, making a click. 3, 4. Now the 5th coin. I pick it up, and I click, and I just come right back. I didn't do anything fancy. I didn't try to palm it or get it in some weird position or clip it between the fingers or anything. I just held it right where it would be. I went 5. I came back and pretended to take 1 and said 6. And then I picked up the 6th coin and I said 7. And this one stays right where it is. So once again, doing it very quickly, the rhythm would be this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And I've already told her to close her hand as soon as I hit 7 so that I can't get anything in and I can't get anything out. The real reason is you don't want the spectator going through all that to see if they really have 7 coins. Now, you bring this hand, which has the penny here, underneath and on the back. The back of the hand has almost no nerve endings. If you punch a needle into the palm of your hand, you will definitely feel it, and it will hurt. You punch a needle into the back of your hand, you'll still feel it, but not nearly as much. You have very few nerve endings on the back of that hand, so she can't really feel that. And in order to make the penetration work, you simply raise this hand so that you're starting to press the penny into the back of the hand, and then you start moving it around. Now she can feel the coin on the back of the hand. You lower this away. Apparently 1 coin is dropped through, and to prove it, you have her open up her hand, and you could have her count the coins into your hand or whatever to show that there are only 6 remaining coins. It simply takes practice on the rhythm and practice on the sound, and you'll have an amazing trick that you can do absolutely anywhere. And you can actually repeat this one. Normally you don't repeat a magic trick twice, but this one can be repeated as long as you lay down the coin. I switched on did the move on the 5th coin. When you did it the next time, you might do it on the 3rd coin or the 4th coin. And you can repeat it, and it fools the ears as well as the eyes. And now one of the real classics of magic, 4 coins across. This is something that is included in every professional sleight of hand man's repertoire. And it can be very, very complicated. We're going to teach you a relatively easy way to do it. The effect looks like this. You have 4 coins. You may recall from last week that I used these Chinese coins. I just happen to carry them because I use a Chinese coin trick in my act. They are $half size, which may or may not be the right size for you. You show that you have 1, 2, 3, 4 coins. And you can actually see 4 coins. Now, we simply hold the hands like this, give the thumbs a wiggle. The hands never go close. It's all in the wiggling of the thumbs. And one of those coins manages to dance across in midair, leaving us with only 3 coins on this side of the hand. Now we have 3 coins that are remaining. 1 coin, you see, has already traveled. We have 3 coins remaining. We toss those into the hand. And there we are. You pick this up, little wiggle with the thumbs, and 1 more coin passes across, leaving us with 2 on this side and 2 on this side. Now that means that 2 coins have gone across, and 2 coins have yet to make the journey. So we simply pick these up, little wiggle of the thumbs, and sure enough, the coins go across, leaving us with only 1 coin in this hand. Now we're getting right down to the momentous climactus. So, in order for us to appreciate what happens the last time around, this is the toughest one to fool you with because you already know what's supposed to happen. I need to make sure you know exactly where everything is. So, what is in this hand?
1 coin.
That's exactly right. 1 coin over here has yet to make the journey. And Jerry, what is in the right hand?
3.
That's exactly right. Now, we scoop all these up and watch closely. Little wiggle of the thumbs, and invisibly through the air, that coin melts away like a cheap brand of margarine on a hot summer day and joins the other 3 coins over here in the right hand. Now, this basically uses the finger palm with a couple of other little moves tossed in, and we'll get to those as we go along. The first part of the routine, if you know about finger palming, you already know how to do. You pick up the 4 coins, and you place them right here in the hand. Now notice as you do that, you place the first coin right there in finger palm position. It's automatic. If you just give a little contraction with the fingers, that coin will automatically stay there. So you pick up the first coin, you very deliberately place it right here in finger palm position. The second coin overlaps that slightly, then the 3rd coin and the 4th coin. Now what happens if you contract these fingers around the first coin, you can toss everything over to the left hand, and this one remains right where it is. Now, as a little throw-off, I leaned over to Jerry and I said, you can actually see 4 coins in the hand. Well, you can't. as long as you keep everything moving. But it looks good, and it fools people. So you do a little thing like that. Now it's all showmanship. You wiggle the thumbs, you do whatever kind of stuff you want to do, and one coin has invisibly flown from here to here. Now, before I opened that hand, however, I didn't want the coin to show up in finger palm position. And I don't know how I can best do this for camera, but looking at it from behind, what I did, I closed my hand and I forced the thing to sort of roll over, so it ended up there. It's a small point, but it's kind of important in case some wise guy knows about finger palming, which is unlikely, but when I open up my hand anyway, it's right there. So I lay this one down. I have 3 coins over here. I say 1 coin has already passed, and of course you place that right there in finger palm position. 3 coins have yet to make the journey, and you do the exact same thing. You toss them over here. If you want, you can give them a real quick flash, but you got to be careful on that one because you only have 2 coins. Now you pick this one up, and the only critical thing is making sure this coin does not talk, as we say, or does not clink against the one that you already have finger palmed. And the easiest way to do that, looking at it from the back, would be to pick this up and sort of slide it there. That's called a thumb palm. It's no big deal, but if you just sort of hold that there, you keep those 2 coins separate, and it just looks like your hand is in a fist. Now at this point, you can do the same bit of wiggling the thumbs or whatever. If you want to at this point, you can sort of shake this hand, and they can hear that second coin coming across like so. Now, you have 2 coins and 2 coins. At this point, you can't really do this, because if you tossed 2 coins into that hand, there would be a clink. Well, there is no clink because you left 1 here. So you have to do something a little bit different. What you could do is pick up 1 coin and apparently toss it there, leaving the coin in the finger palm. Pick up the other coin and place it just sort of right there on the thumb crotch, and then just sort of tap it down a little bit. That's the easiest way to do it. The other way to do it, and I did not do this terribly well, my hands are perspiring, is with a little thing called a pinch move, which is not that hard to do, but it's kind of a unique idea. You pick up 1 coin, you hold it here, and you place it right there on your palm. You pick up the second coin, and you apparently place it into the hand, but what you really do is this. It's a little hard to describe, but if you play with it, you'll get it. You're just slipping your finger off of the outer edge of the coin, and you're immediately moving it back here to pinch that coin before it can fall. So you have a situation like that. And what that lets you do is pick up the coin, put it in the hand, then pick up this coin, do that as you're closing your fingers, and they can actually hear the coin clinking against the other. Now you have the coin left in this position. Ordinarily, if you held your hand in this position, you would get killed immediately because it doesn't look natural. But since you're going to come over here and get these 2 coins, and since when you get these two coins, they're going to clink, it disguises the clink of this coin. So doing it in proper rhythm, you would put 1 coin here, you'd have this, you would have the second coin here, you'd click, and then you just move back and grab all these. In other words, the amount of time that your hand has to be unnaturally cramped is very short. So 1 coin goes here, the second coin goes here, and you just move right back and scoop everything up. And it happens quickly enough that there's not really much of a chance of getting caught there. Wiggle the fingers, 3 coins, and only 1 coin left. Now we do something called the Han Ping Chen move, which was invented by a Japanese magician many, many years ago. It's one of the cleverest coin moves in magic. What you're going to do is say 3 coins have made the journey. 1 coin has yet to go. And as you close the hand, now you notice as opposed to the former placement, now I've placed them really differently in my hands. The idea is to put 1 coin down here at the base of the first finger so that you can place your thumb over that coin. So now if you turn your hand over, only 2 coins drop out, and you have the other coin right here in that little thumb palm type of position. So you place the coins like that, and you close up the hand, and as you close up the hand, you clip that with the side of your thumb. All right, so there it is. Now, you pick up this coin and you place it in this hand. And you say, now before we do the last one, because this time you might catch me or whatever, it's important you remember where everything is. So what is in this hand? And I always turn to somebody to my right. What is in this hand? And they say 1 coin, and you slap that the tabletop and you say, that's right. Now you pick the coin back up, but in the process, and you let your hand rest on the table. And while you do that, you're allowing that coin to drop so that it's just barely held by that hand. So you have the coin here, and you just sort of let it slide down to the tabletop like that, so that if you moved your hand, it just stays there. It's gravity. You don't have to do anything. You don't wiggle your fingers to get it to leave. You just move your hand, and it happens. So how many coins here? They say 1. You let it rest. How many coins in the other hand? They say 3. And you do that, which leaves you with 1 coin here, no coins here, 3 coins on the table. Everything looks perfectly fair. You pause for just a second, scrape up all these coins, and this hand is still on a fist, of course, and wiggle the thumbs, and you've got a real miracle on your hands. Let me do that for the purposes of video just once more from the side, so we can hopefully get a little bit better shot of that. You're letting the thumb clip here, doing it sideways. This comes here. As you've already said, 1 coin in this hand. You simply come down in real slow motion. You come across, you move that hand, and you dump out those coins out of that hand. Looking at it from the opposite direction, for the benefit of the camera, it would look like that. It's a very natural looking move. And there you have probably one of the easiest and yet a very good coins across routines that anybody could possibly do. Now we're going to do something called from 1 to 10. And the nice thing about this, you can do it with absolutely anything that happens to be around. We're going to show it to you with cocktail napkins, which you can get at any party or at a bar or something. I've seen guys do this with martini olives, and I've seen it done with sponge balls, and you name it. And somebody probably, as long as it was a fairly small item, they managed to perform this little trick with it. It's an amazing thing. A lot of times people will ask you when you get through with something, they'll say, how did you do that? How was that done? And you can explain to them that magic is very simple. If you can count to 10, you can do magic. Nobody believes that, of course, so you prove it to them. You say, look, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. If you can count to 10, you can do magic. Now, this is not as hard as it looks, although when you're learning this, it will cause you some aggravation because it's going to feel very unnatural. This is another one of those illusions where timing is everything, rhythm is everything. What you're doing, and you can do it backwards too. It's one of the few tricks you can repeat. You can say, we can do it backwards. Look, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. All right. Now, here's what's actually happening. It's a little bit like the trick with the pennies, but it's a better trick than the penny trick. Doing it very, very slowly, and doing it from, let's do it from the side. You'll see exactly what happens, and then we'll explain why it happens and exactly how to do it. I'm going to angle those just a bit so we pick that up, hopefully. You're going 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Now that's literally all there is to it, although it will take you some work to get the count down properly. Let me stay in this position, I think, for a bit. You start with the hands palm down. Are you fellows right-handed? Okay, good. If you are left-handed and watching this tape in the year 2000, just reverse what I'm doing. Start with your left hand if you are right-handed. Everything is palm down. You're going 1, 2, and then palm up 3, 4, 5 is picking up the ball, 6 is pretending to place it into the hand. You really just hold your position. 7 is grabbing that ball, 8 is closing that hand and turning it over. Then 9 is opening this one, and 10 is opening this one. The way the thing goes in proper rhythm is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. It's a little bit like a piece of music where it slows down slightly at the end. You slow it down just a tad when you get to 9 and 10. Now, there are several reasons why this works. First of all, when you get to the fake placement of this ball into the hand, once again, you don't do anything weird. You don't try to roll it back into a finger palm or do anything strange like that. You just pretend to place it here, and you hold it in that exact same position. Now, again, this is like some other things we've done. If you had to hold this position for very long, you would be dead in the water. But you pretend to place it here. This hand moves back. Now they instantly see that ball. That catches their eye. Okay? And before they have a chance to look at this hand is coming down. It's picking up both of them, closing into a fist. And then you get 9 and 10. It's extremely effective. This is also one of the very few sleight of hand tricks you can do for children. Children are not often fooled by sleight of hand. They're the world's most difficult audience to fool with sleight of hand. You can fool them with mechanical tricks, but not with sleight of hand. But this will get kids. It's one of the few things I found that will. So the rhythm is 1, 2, palm up, 3, 4, taking it as 5, 6 is pretending to place it here, 7 is picking this up, 8 is turning that hand over while it's closing, 9 is opening that one, 10 is doing that. Then once you've learned it that way, you can do it backwards. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. It's a great trick.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I like that.
Our next trick is called 3 times and out. And this has gone by many, many names. It's one of the real classics in magic, and entire books have been written on this one trick. It's a very strange thing. As with the preceding illusion, you can use crumpled up napkins, crumpled up dollar bills, cocktail olives, sponge balls, corks, cigarette butts. You can use absolutely anything you want to use for this. The idea in this case is that we have 3 rolled up napkins. And it's very, very simple. All you do is take a napkin, place it in the hand, 2 go in the hand, the 3rd one goes in the pocket. And you ask the spectator how many are left in the hand. And the spectator will say 2, and you say it's exactly right. There's 1, and there's 2. Now, oh, excuse me, I thought I threw that one out. Let me try that one more time. And we place 1 in the hand, we place 2 in the hand. This one we do not need, so we place that into the pocket. Now, how many does that leave me with in the hand?
2.
2, of course. Yeah, so there's 1. And there's 2. Now well, this is an occupational hazard. When you do magic, you can't always make this thing stay in your pocket. Well, let's try it one more time. If it doesn't work this time, we'll quit. We place 1 in the hand, 2 in the hand. This one we don't need, so we place that into the pocket. How many does that leave me with in the hand?
2.
2, or maybe 3 if I messed it up. So there's 1. Oops. Well, we just ran out of napkins. We'll have to do that another day. But it was a good trick if I could remember how it's done. All right. What you need for this is almost anything that you can finger palm. And again, these napkins are just a little bit too large for my hands. I wish I had thinner, cheaper napkins, but it kind of works. Secret of the trick, of course, you got a 4th napkin. And you should actually get that into your possession before you start the trick. Just get it there, hold it in the finger palm. Unfortunately, in this particular case, for those of you watching out there in TV land, I forgot to take possession of that extra ball before the camera went on. So you may or may not have seen me on camera reaching into my pocket, and I tried to cover that by doing some sort of gesture. But at any rate, you have 3 things out on the table. You have a 4th identical object finger palmed in your hand. Now, you just let that hang there. It doesn't mean anything, and you haven't started anything yet, so there's no reason for anybody to be suspicious about it. You pick up the first ball, and you add that to it and stick it in the hand. Now, one of the nice things about working with napkins, if you give that a real good squeeze, you can actually show that. And it just looks like one napkin. You can't really tell the difference. Now, you place that in the hand. Now you're clean. You pick up the 2nd napkin. You place that into the hand. 3rd one, you say, well, don't need this one. We'll place this into the pocket. What you actually do is just bring it right back out. in the finger palm, and you just make a move like that, and you just let your hand drop. What I usually do here, it's optional, is clip it with my thumb, the old thumb palm again. And what that lets me do is hold my hand in a slightly more relaxed position at the side. So it looks like that as opposed to looking like that, just a little more relaxed. Now, how many are in the hand? And they say 2, and you say that's right. And you can show 1. If you really want to here, you can show 2 by doing that little squeeze move. And, whoops, oh, well, wait a minute. I thought I put that one away where you were watching closely. Now you move over and you do exactly the same thing. You just add this to that, place it in the hand. You do this. This time you actually leave it in your pocket. Now they're watching you, you're doing the exact same thing, but this time in case anybody suspects that you didn't really leave that in your pocket, you actually do. And you don't make a big deal out of it, like, see, I really did put it in my pocket, but you can do some sort of little gesture, and now how many left in the hand? And just let that drop. And they say 2. And so you do this, and this, whoops, well, it's back. Now you say, well, try it one more time. You place this one into the hand, and you actually do. You place this one into the hand, but as you do it, looking at it from the side, you're squeezing this onto here with your thumb. You're closing that up so that you're not leaving anything at all in the hand. And again, this is one of those things that wouldn't look good unless you were moving with rhythm. But you immediately move that hand to pick up that one. So looking at it from the front, what you get is 1 here, 2 here, and then you scoop up that one. But except you would do it a little bit faster than that. It doesn't have to be done with the speed of lightning, but it's like this. And you just put that in the pocket. You leave everything there. The only thing to worry about here is if you actually had 2 napkin balls in your hand, it would be a, I don't know how you say this, it would look like you had something in your hand. You don't want to do that where you're really squeezing down, where there's obviously nothing there. You sort of do like this, looking at it from the rear. You're actually leaving some open space on the back side, so it looks plausible that you would have 2 there. And then you say how many left in the hand. At this point, they're probably going to say 3. They might say 2. It doesn't make any difference. And whatever they say, you say that's exactly right. Here's 1. Oh, well, I'm sorry. We just ran out of those, and we'll do that trick for you another day. That's 3 times and out. Welcome to Lesson 3. Our first effect is something called the self-reversing pack. As you can see, I have a pack of cards all running the same direction. That is, they're all face up, which is exactly how they should be. However, I'm going to alter that by taking some cards face up, jamming them into face down cards, face up and face down. As you can see, we are messing the entire thing up. What a mess. As a matter of fact, if I were to cut through the deck right now, you notice that we have cards running every which way imaginable. They're face to face, they're back to back. Really a totally messed up situation. Now, however, in the process of doing the slop shuffle, if I simply give 1 cut and a little riffle with the thumb, you'll see that the entire deck straightens itself out. Self-reversing pack is a very easy trick to learn. It needs to be done with a certain amount of speed or rhythm, more than speed actually. It looks as if you're taking cards and jamming them into other cards. In fact, you're not doing anything of the sort. You're simply thumbing off a few cards, say half a dozen cards. You're flipping over and you're thumbing off cards underneath that packet. You flip. This is the only hand that moves. The left hand doesn't ever turn over for this. You flip, thumb off a few cards. You're always thumbing cards underneath the cards that you hold in the right hand. Now, look at what you're doing here. Actually, you're simply forming a pile of face-up cards and a pile of face-down cards. The audience gets the impression that you're going to have all kinds of clumps of face-up and face-down cards throughout the pack. In fact, all you're doing, look at it from the bottom view, all you're doing is separating the deck into face-up cards and face-down cards. Now, if you do that with a certain amount of speed and talk about jamming face-up cards into face-down cards, it really does look like a legitimate shuffle. And you can cut through the pack and show that we have cards running face up. We have cards running face down. We have cards running face to face and back to back. Now, what you're trying to cut for is the separation between the face up and face down cards. In a fairly new pack of cards, you will find this break or this separation almost automatically. This is not a fairly new pack of cards, so I had a little bit of trouble finding it, but you simply cut through until you find the place at which the face up and face down cards meet. It's right there. You cut there, you show that they're running back to back. When you reassemble the deck, you don't do it this way, you do it this way. In other words, now you have face down cards with face down cards. You reassemble the deck simply for effect, say with a simple riffle, and do that little riffle with your thumb, which indicates that something magical is happening, and now you have the entire deck all straightened out. Easy trick to do, not much of a trick on its own, but it's something you need to know to learn our next effect, the self-reversing pack outdone. In this effect, what you're going to do is have a spectator select a card. I will be the spectator here. We'll say it's that card right there. Happens to be the King of Spades. Now, you can have them replace it on the deck. We've already learned the Hindu shuffle control, so you can control the King of Spades to the top of the deck, just like so. Now you want to place the King of Spades, which is on top, on the bottom of the deck, and there's a very simple way to do this. It's overhand shuffle. The overhand shuffle looks like this. You simply peel off the top card. There it is, the selected card, the King of Spades, and then you start shuffling the rest of the deck on top, so that the King of Spades ends up on the bottom of the deck when you complete the shuffle. Now, you do the exact same series of moves until you get to that bottom card, the King of Spades. You're going to flip off a few face-down cards, turn them face up, flip off a few more. You're doing the same thing you just did, always pushing cards to the bottom of this packet. You keep going until you only have one card left in the hand, and that, of course, will be the selected card. And you place that face down on the face-up card. Doesn't matter. You could do it here, you could do it here. It's always going to be the same. You're going to end up with it face down on a packet. Now, look what you have. You have the face-down selected card, the King of Spades. You have half of a deck face up. You have half the deck face down. At this point, you go through the same sort of cutting procedure. You say, look, we have cards face up. We have cards face down. You now cut at the break, and remember to use a fairly new pack of cards. You'll be able to get to the break easier. You're pointing out that the cards run in all different directions. You've turned this hand this way. Remember, this is where the King of Spades is. When you cut to that natural break, you simply flip that packet over and place it back on top of the deck. Now, by riffling with the thumb for effect, when you spread the cards out, the entire deck will be facing one way with the exception of their selected card. Little tip here, as you do this with your thumb, it would really be more dramatic to say, look, the entire pack is now face up with the exception of one card. And what was your card, sir? He'll say the King of Spades. You slide that out, and there you are. Our next effect is the card through handkerchief. It's one of the classic effects in Magic, and a great way to produce a spectator's chosen card. You have the spectator choose a card. There's our old friend, the King of Spades, and you have him place it back in the pack anywhere he likes, and give the pack a little shuffle. Next, you show the audience a handkerchief, which we have here. Show it front and back, whatever you'd like to do. And we'll just drape that right out. I'm going to drape the handkerchief over the deck of cards. Make sure you keep the cards well squared as you're doing that. Square. Okay, technical difficulties, folks. You'll see what's happening in a second. Now, we spread the handkerchief out. Oh, I forgot to show you. The important thing here is that you must show that the spectator's card is nowhere near the top of the deck. It's not on the bottom of the deck, anything like that, so that everything is clean. Now we drape the handkerchief right over the deck, kind of like so. Fold it up. Now you ask the spectator what was the name of the card that you looked at. He will say, in this case, the King of Spades. You grasp part of the handkerchief in each hand, give it a pull, and somehow his card penetrates upward through the handkerchief. Very simple trick to do, in spite of the fact that I didn't do it terribly well. What you need is a loop of Scotch tape. You simply have, I have one here, you simply have a Scotch tape that you wind around your thumb.
Hold it in one place there.
All right? Simply wind that around your thumb so that the sticky part is facing outward. So you have a continuous loop of Scotch tape that will fit on your thumb or on your finger, whatever. This one is about finger size. And that's the entire secret to the trick, except, of course, you must know how to control the spectator's chosen card to the top of the deck, which you do with the Hindu shuffle. Now, you can get this in several ways. This loop of tape can be stuck to the back of your table, which is what I did. You could have it stuck to the side of your jacket, anywhere that's convenient. You could even have it already stuck to the center of the handkerchief, although I like the idea of being able to show the handkerchief back and forth. You spread it out. You can comment to the effect that it is a solid handkerchief or whatever. Now, while you're doing that, what's actually going on behind the scenes is that you're sticking that little piece of tape onto the center of the handkerchief. All right, so here it is. Now, when you spread this out, the tape is going to go right on the card. Now, if I did it for you, as if you were me, it would look like this. We're spreading, and we're just going to dump that tape right on top of the card. Try to get it right in the center. Hard for me to see what I'm doing from this angle, but hopefully you can see. Now, under the pretense of spreading out the handkerchief, you just sort of press that down so it sticks. If you now pick up the handkerchief, you say, oh, I forgot. I was going to show you that there's nothing on top, that your card is not near the top of the deck. Now, you see when you've pulled up the handkerchief, the card has come with it. Simply drape that over your arm, and you can show that their card is nowhere near the top of the deck. It's nowhere near the bottom of the deck. Now, regrasping the handkerchief, you're going to place it onto the deck in this fashion. Again, I'm going to do this backwards, as if you were the magician, and this is what you would see. You're going to spread this out. Remember, the audience can't see this. And now you're going to do this so that the card flips over face down. So it's on top of the deck, really, but it's separated from the deck by a layer of the handkerchief. Keep moving back. Remember, this is your view, until that is completely covered. In other words, if you do this, you screwed up. So you do like so. Now, fold in the sides. And where you're going to grasp is here and here. It would be helpful if you grasp with all four fingers and thumb. It just gives you a bigger gripping area for unfolding the handkerchief. Now all you have to do is pull, and you get a very nice effect of the playing card penetrating up through the handkerchief. Our next effect is also a classic of card magic. It's called the card to ceiling. It looks like this. You have a spectator select a card, in this case the King of Spades. The spectator places the card back in the deck, and you give it a mix, whatever you want to do. And you can spread the deck at this point to show that the cards are really well mixed, which in fact they are. Looks like we're doing the self-reversing pack trick again. Okay. Now you ask the spectators to watch very closely. Happens quickly. You want them to be able to see what's going on. Getting the spectators to watch closely. It happens fast. Watch. And there it is. All right, the explanation for card to ceiling. You use the exact same gimmick that you used for the card through handkerchief. That is a loop of tape, which once again I have stuck to the back of the table. Nothing much to it. You have the spectator select the card, place it back in the deck, control the card to the top of the deck. Now, I did a little spread on the tabletop to show that the pack was well mixed. The only thing you have to be careful about is not to spread it in such a way that they see the king of spades on top. You'll have to get the knack of this, but basically you're sort of dropping off a few cards and then spreading the rest. The reason I do the spread is, one, to show that they're well mixed. The other one is misdirection, so my left thumb can come down here and pick up that loop of tape.
Coming down, picking up the loop of tape again.
All right. While you're spreading the deck, the left thumb is coming down, picking up the loop of tape.
Put the loop of tape back down again.
All right.
And let it stick there. Okay, because I can just see. Show us. Point to the loop of tape.
Now, the loop of tape is right here behind your table, or wherever it's convenient for you. In this case, behind the table. You're spreading out the cards and.
Finger slowly so we can see the loop of tape on your finger.
All right. And there it is.
Nobody can hear me.
All right.
All right.
Now, you simply scoop up the deck and transfer that loop of tape to the top card, which of course is the selected card. Tape goes right there. To help conceal that, you have it at this angle when you're fixing the tape, and then when I walk around to throw the deck at the ceiling, I'm placing the deck in the palm here, and I'm sort of cradling it with my other hand so that you can't see the loop of tape from the audience viewpoint. The reason you're holding the deck flat on the palm
Hold it steady.
is that you must throw the deck to the ceiling in a perfectly parallel plane to the ceiling. That is, you don't want any kind of tilting or anything. You want it to land squarely against the ceiling so that the tape has a chance to stick. You're cradling the deck like so. Walk around here so we find our spot on the ceiling. And you throw the deck straight up. Sometimes it helps me if I bend my legs just a little bit as an extra little push on the thing.
Just pretend to throw the cards. Don't actually do it.
All right, so you come down like this and up, keeping this hand perfectly parallel to the ceiling as it goes up.
And when you do it, just pretend to do it.
All right, here we go.
And talk, Hero.
And there's their selected card.
You're just gonna hang right in on it. It'll fade on it.
Our next effect is in the mentalism category, or some people call it mind reading. It's a very useful technique for trying to discover what someone is thinking about. The way it works, you can have a sheet of paper, an index card, whatever. Paper is really much easier to use. And you place a circle right there in the center of the card or the paper. Actually, you'd want to make it just a tad smaller than that, probably. So I'll make another circle inside the first circle. You claim that a circle is completely endless, has no beginning, no end, represents eternity, or whatever kind of psychological sounding mumbo jumbo you want to mention. You then hand the piece of paper to the spectator and you ask him or her to concentrate on something. It could be part of their social security number. It could be the year of their birth, or just anything. They can concentrate on a number, a simple word, anything that they want to think about, and they write it inside that circle to better concentrate their thoughts. Now, sir, would you please fold the paper in half with the writing going to the inside, and then fold it in half once more so that there's no way that I can see the writing. Okay? Thank you. Now, I'd like for you to simply concentrate on what you've written on the piece of paper. And while you're saying that, you rip up You see why it's better to use paper than cardboard. A little bit difficult to tear here sometimes. Anyway, you rip up the pieces so you can show that you have several pieces of card or paper. And now we're going to drop these in here and set them on fire. And you ask the spectator to simply stare into the flames and concentrate on his mental thought. As he stares into the flames, and hopefully you'll get better flames than that when you do the trick, you stand back, relax, and concentrate on his thought as he stares into the flames. And then we'll pretend that this thing has burnt up. It hasn't, obviously, but pretending that it's already gone. You stare deeply into his eyes, and you say, I get the distinct mental impression that you are thinking of the number 2. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. That's how to do the center tear. You're probably wondering how I knew it was number 2. Actually, if I turn my hand toward you right now, you may have noticed I was resting here while apparently watching the flames. If I turn my hand toward you, you will see that I have the little circle in which he wrote sort of palmed. It's really just sort of held between those 2 fingers, and it's right there, and you can simply take a look down and peek at what the person has written. Now, how to get that particular piece of paper out of all the other pieces is really quite simple, but as simple as it is, it's the basis of some of the best mind-reading type tricks in existence. You place a circle in the center, and you do some sort of mumbo-jumbo about you want to focus the person's thoughts and concentrate them so he or she must write in the center. The reason you have them right there, of course, is that you are going to steal that little section of the paper. The person writes a number. Let's say in this case it's number 8. Write that on the card. They fold it in half, and they fold it in half again. When you get the card back, you can see the corner here. Let me write, tell you what, let me do it this way, with the circle on the outside.
Move your hands. Leave your hands right in that general area.
Okay. Folding it, excuse me, folding it with the information to the outside makes it much easier to see what's actually happening as you tear up the paper. You give a rip right down through the center. Now, as you can see, you've not disturbed this at all. You place this half to the front, and you're going to rip again. I'll turn it here so you can see what's happening. Normally this would be on the back side. You're ripping. So you see, once again, you completely miss that printed information, which should, of course, be folded to the inside.
No, just, there you go.
Okay?
Okay.
Now I'll continue tearing so that we have that portion of the card in the rear. Now you have a bundle of pieces. Pardon? Yes, those papers went to the front so that you're always keeping the part with the printed information. So now you're holding it like this. As you go to place the pieces in the glass, in the ashtray, whatever, you are simply, with your thumb, sliding back that center section of the card. It's sort of a finger palm.
Okay, we see that.
Now you go over, you dump the pieces into the glass, retaining the piece with the information on it in sort of a palm type position. Now you go to get your lighter. I happen to keep it in my pocket. There's a reason for that. You could have it out on the table, but I came out and lit this, and then as I went back into my pocket, I was unfolding the slip, and it's very easy. You're just inside of your pocket. You're doing this kind of thing, letting it unfold, and then you're clipping it here in your hand. It's sort of between the first 2 fingers, and you just hold out your hand in a very relaxed position. As it comes back out of the pocket, you just come to the table, let your hand rest there. If you're a little bit nervous about somebody accidentally being able to see the paper that you have here, you can actually bring it back like I did so that it's sort of hanging off the edge of the table. And this completely covers any problems you might have with somebody accidentally peeking at the paper. The person stares at the flames. You're looking down here to read what is written. Just takes a second. Then after appropriate build-up and pretending to read the person's mind and so forth, you announce you wrote the number 8 or whatever it was that was written. So that's all there is to it. It's a very useful technique, can come in handy on many occasions. Our next effect is another mind-reading effect, one of the great classics of mental magic. Works like this. You need to be working with about 3 spectators, so I turn to spectator number 1. I say, sir, I'm going to make a prediction. And in order to do that, I'm going to try to be receptive to your thoughts. So I would like for you to think of any year. This could be any year in this century or any other century. And are you thinking of one, sir?
Yes.
All right. I'm going to, well, I'm not sure. I'm going to write my impression. I have no idea whether that's correct. We will find out in just a moment. In the meantime, we will mark that for future identification as prediction number A. And what was the year you were thinking?
1941.
1941? Okay, I think we're going to be all right on that one. And now spectator number 2, I would like for you to think of any name. This could be somebody you know. It could be just a name out of thin air. Simply think of a name. Do you have a name in mind?
I know.
Okay, please don't change your mind thinking of a name. Well, I'm not sure. Let me try this. All right, that will be prediction B, which we will place here as well. And all right. And what was the name that you thought of?
Amy.
All right, I think we're okay there. Now, I'm going to make one more prediction of something that will hopefully happen in the future. And we will mark this as prediction C. Sir, we have a couple of 3 symbols, actually, on the tabletop. I have a triangle, a circle, and a square. Would you simply point to one of those symbols? All right, take that away, please. We don't need that any longer. And now we have only 2 symbols left. We have a circle and a square. Would you point to one of those? All right, we'll take that away as well. That leaves us with a circle, which we will leave there in full view. Ladies and gentlemen, we've made 3 predictions. We've placed them here in full view. I'm going to shake them out. First spectator, sir, you thought of a year. This is prediction A. And what was the year you thought of?
1941.
1941 is correct. I originally wrote 1942, but I had the impression that perhaps that was wrong. Second spectator, you thought of a name. Here is prediction B. And what was the name you thought of?
Amy.
Amy. Very good. And you, sir, before you even thought of anything, I wrote your prediction, prediction C. And as you can see, I correctly predicted circle. Here is how that was done. It uses 2 principles. One of them is something called magician's choice, and the other one is called one ahead. They're classic principles used in mentalism and magic. Let me show you first the magician's choice. Magician's choice means you have no choice at all. It looks as if the third spectator has a free choice out of these symbols, triangle, circle, and square. In fact, I force him to pick circle. Here's how it works. I tell him, simply touch one of these symbols. Now, in this case, he touched triangle, so I ask him to take that away. Remember, we want to force the spectator to take the circle. So I said, fine, please take that away. We won't need that any longer. Then I said, we have 2 symbols left, a circle and a square. Would you touch one of those? He happened to touch square. So I said, fine, please take that away. This leaves us with the circle. Now let's back up a little bit. Let's say the first time he touches triangle, I say, fine, take that away. That narrows us down to two possibilities, circle or square. Would you simply touch one? If he touched circle, I would simply take away square and say, fine, you have selected the circle. Let me show you a couple of other possibilities. It's possible that the first time out, he touched circle. If he did, I would say, fine, we don't need these any longer, and I would take those away. The only important thing to remember, you can manipulate this any way you like. The important thing is not to hesitate. Pretend that this is the way it's supposed to happen. Another possibility, maybe he touches square first. You say, fine, we'll take that away. And now out of what's left, which do you want? Or would you touch one? I'm sorry. Out of what's left, would you touch one? Only two choices here. He can either touch the triangle, in which case you say, fine, we'll take that away also. Or if he touches the circle, you will say, fine. Out of those two symbols, you have selected the circle. So that's magician's choice. Very important thing to know. That is why the whole thing works. I turn to spectator 1, and I say, I would like for you to concentrate on any year. Could be in this century or any other. Do you have a year in mind? He says, yes, I do. You say, concentrate. I will try to pick up your thoughts, and I will try to write down that year, which I apparently do, but really what I'm doing is I'm writing the word circle. This is the last prediction you will make, but you're pretending it's the first prediction because you already know you're going to force circle. I then fold up the card, and on the outside I say we will mark this as prediction A. What I really do is write C on the back of that because that's going to be the third prediction. I mark C on it. I don't show anybody that. I say we'll call that prediction A, and I drop it into the glass. Now, before turning to the second spectator, I ask the first spectator, and by the way, what year were you thinking about? In this case, he said 1941. So you say, okay, fine, I think we're okay. Now I turn to spectator number 2, and I say, would you think of a name? Could be somebody you know. It could just be a name that you want to make up. Think of a person's name. Do you have that? He says, yes. So you say, fine, I'm going to try to pick up that name. Now you're apparently writing what name he's thinking of, or that's the effect. Actually, you're writing 1941, which is what the first spectator told you. You fold that up and say, we will mark that prediction B. Actually, you write A on the back of that because that's really the first spectator's thought. We will mark that prediction B and place that in full view. Now, before turning to spectator number 3, you say, and just to double check, what was the name that you thought of? And he said, Amy. And you say, fine, I think we have that. Now, sir, I'm going to predict something. You turn to the third spectator. I'm going to predict something that isn't even in your mind yet. And you start writing apparently a prediction about the last spectator. Actually, you are writing the word Amy on the card. You say, this is a prediction of something that will happen in the future, and we will mark this prediction C. Actually, you put B on it. And we will place that also in full view. Now you magician's choice, the circle, on the last spectator using the technique I showed you just a moment ago. You rig it so that he apparently has freely selected circle. Now all you have to do is dump these out of the glass. The reason I have them in a glass and just sort of dump them out is they scatter every which way and nobody can tell what order they were in inside of the glass. And I pick up the prediction marked A and I turn to the first spectator and say, and what year did you think of? He says 1941. And I say, we got that one correct. You turn to spectator B and say, sir, you were concentrating on a name. I made a prediction, or I tried to pick up your thoughts, and you thought of the name Amy. And before it ever even entered your mind, I wrote a prediction of the future, spectator number C, and I predicted that you would select circle. It's a great trick. You can do it anywhere. All you need is some little pieces of paper or cardboard, and you've got a miracle. Our next effect is called the Great Rope Escape, or the Impossible Rope Escape, and it's a really nice item for working in front of a larger group of people, although you could do it for a small group in your living room or something, I suppose. Uses a couple of pieces of rope and a spectator from the audience, and we have a volunteer over here. Sir, would you mind stepping right up? And I'd like for you to check these ropes out and make sure they're good and solid, not made out of elastic or gimmicked or in any way like that. A couple of solid lengths of rope, and you will certify that those are, in fact, solid lengths of rope. Correct?
Correct.
Okay, terrific. Now what I'm going to do is sit down on this chair, and I'm going to ask you to tie me up. It looks like this. Let me just have a seat here. And we're going to cross the ropes like this, and I'm going to place my wrist right there in the center, and then I want you to grab two ends in each hand, pull rather tightly, and just tie my wrist right together. Okay, make several knots, as many as you like, or as long as the rope holds out, doesn't make any difference.
It's a good
Am I
knot.
nicely tied?
Now you're tied.
All right, now to protect the secret of this escape, I have my jacket hanging off the back of the chair, but you just reach around there, pull my jacket off, please, and if you'll just sort of drape it right over, yeah, just like that, that's good. Now, well, it might have been better, I don't know, if you sort of pulled it up just a little bit more like that. Could you just sort of readjust that just a little bit? Yeah, that's fine. Now, the knots you tied were nice and tight?
Very tight.
Yeah, okay, would you like to check those out again? Just check it out. Okay, we're still very tightly tied. And yeah, all right.
Very
and
tight.
just put that right over me. Yeah, just like that. Now step back over here just a little bit like so. All right, terrific. And now on the count of three, pull away the, well, check, make sure I'm still tightly tied.
Yep.
Okay, show the audience. Okay, still tightly
Yep,
tied, all right.
still tight.
On the count of three, if you'll simply pull away the jacket. Ready? 1, 2, 3, whoop. And there we are. Thank you so much.
You gave yourself up with that. You put one arm out. You go. You already untied. You tied yourself back up. That's a good one.
And here's how that one was done. It's actually a very fine effect. You must rehearse it quite a bit, however. You have the two pieces of rope. The spectator has examined them. He's seen that they're good, solid pieces of rope. If you want, you can use two spectators to help with the tying. It gives you more possibilities. Here's the secret move. You have one piece of rope over the top of your hand. The second piece of rope is clipped between the first and second fingers, just right there. It's clipped. Now, as you come over to transfer the ropes from one hand to the other, this hand grabs the rope that you have clipped between the fingers. This hand lets the free rope slide into the left hand, and this hand pulls its loop back so that you have your fist concealing what's going on. You now get the impression that two ropes are running side by side. In fact, you have them looped over like this. So one more time, the move goes like so. You have this one clipped. This one is freely hanging off the back of your hand. This hand grabs the loop that's clipped, while this hand dumps that rope into the other hand, and this loop goes back. So now you have this situation. Now you're going to sit down, and as you do so, you're actually going to place this loop right there between, or behind, I should say, your left thigh. So you come around like so, and you sit down, and the loop now is right here on the seat of the chair, covered by your leg. All right? Now you ask the spectator to tie you up, so we have our professional tire here. If you'll step back in, please. You place these ends this way, these ends this way, and then put your wrists right on top. All right, whichever way the end is going. This is pointing to the right. You would cross it to your left. This is going to the left, so you would cross it to your right. You're simply doing that. You're placing your wrists here, and you're asking the spectator to grab both ends and just come right up and tie them tightly. All right. Now, without benefit of the jacket, we'll show you exactly what's going on here. Actually, to get your hands released is a very simple thing. You're simply twisting your hands like this. As you can see, you're not really tied up at all. It's just, it's an illusion. So you simply give it a twist. Note if you twist this way, you won't get undone. You twist in this direction, and that frees that hand. This works better without a wristwatch, by the way. I kept getting my wristwatch hung up. Now, he's covered you up with the jacket, and you reach over and say, well, maybe you should have pulled the jacket up a little bit higher, and then you dive your hand right back underneath and do this, and you say, take away the jacket, make sure I'm still securely tied, and check the knots, which he does. And, okay, cover me back up. Once again, you do the move, and you say, and just stand over here. And you dive back in. This is the part that takes a little speed. And you say, check and make sure I'm still securely tied. He pulls it off, puts it back on. Then for the finale, all you have to do is release, stand up. This simply pulls free, and give it a toss in the air, and that's that.
I'll get that.
Welcome to lesson number 4. Our first effect today is quite unusual. It is a card trick. It almost borders on mind reading. And again, we'll need the assistance of a spectator from the audience, and we have one here. So here's a pack of cards. I'd like for you to shuffle those. You can mix them up, cut them, do anything you like. Make sure it is, in fact, just a deck of cards.
No.
All right. Now, having done that, I'm going to, it's okay if I give the deck another shuffle? We want to make sure that they really are well shuffled. All right. I'm going to place the pack on the table. I'm going to ask you to simply reach into the center and try to get about 10, 11, 12 cards. Just pull a little packet of cards from the center of the deck. That's fine. Okay? Terrific. Now I'm going to show you these cards, and I'm going to ask you to simply think of one of the cards that you see. Thought of one?
Okay.
All right, fine. Now I'm going to hand you the packet of cards. If you will, simply reach into that packet. You can fan them face up toward you, whatever. And I would like for you to pull out the card that you thought of. All right? Simply extract your card and place it face, show it to the camera. There we go. All right. Place that card face.
Hang on, do it again.
Okay.
Okay.
Place the card on the table. Now you have a packet of cards in that hand. Would you shuffle the rest of those cards up, the few cards that you have there in your hand?
It's hot to shuffle these few cards.
That's true. Just mix them up a little bit.
Yep.
And I'd like for you to now place your card on, or place this packet of cards on top of the deck. Place your card on top of that. And now, if you would, you can simply give the deck a cut. Okay, we'll complete the cut like so. Now, I think you'll agree everything's been fair. I've never really touched the cards. You did your own shuffling and all that kind of thing. You cut the deck yourself. And yet I'm going to attempt to find your card. The way I'm going to do it, I'm going to turn my back to you. I'm going to start showing you cards one at a time and placing them on the table. I don't want you to say anything, and I don't want to pick up anything from your facial expression, which is why I have my back turned to you. I'm simply going to show you cards. Whenever you see the card that you thought of, I simply want you to think the word stop. All right? Simply think the word stop. Literally shout it out in your mind, but don't give me any indication that you are thinking, or that you told me to stop. I get the impression that you just thought stop, did you?
Yep.
And what was your card?
3 hats.
And there we go. Thank you. All right, this trick is called the mind reader, and here's how it is done. It's very simple to do. It's simply based on a key card. You remember the key card from lesson 1, I believe it was, where you have a selected card, in this case the 8 of hearts. You know the bottom card, and you drop that on top. So you know the 8 of hearts is going to be right next to the 4 of spades, which was the bottom card. So that's a very crude form of a key card. This is a more sophisticated version. Here's what happens. The spectator shuffles up the deck. If you're lucky, you may be able to peek at the bottom card of the deck while he shuffles. In this case, it would be the Queen of Spades. Many times the spectator will flash the bottom of the deck at you while shuffling. However, if you don't manage to catch a peek at that card, it's okay, because you're going to have to shuffle that card to the top of the deck using the overhand shuffle. So you simply take the deck. If you haven't already had a chance to spot the bottom card, simply reach down and glance at it. Or you may recall, I believe it was in lesson 1, where we showed you the little mind-reading pose, and in the process of doing that, you peek at the bottom card. However you do it is okay. Now you shuffle it to the top of the deck. Again, it's like we did in the last lesson. You just peel off a single card, and then you shuffle off the balance of the deck. Do that without looking at your hands. It just looks like you're doing a casual shuffle, but you have your key card, the Queen of Spades, right there on the top. Now you place the deck on the table, and you ask the spectator to peel out of the center of the deck 10, 11, 12 cards. You want a fairly small number. So he does. He reaches in, he pulls out a few cards, and you fan them out and ask him to think of one of these cards. What's actually happening, while you're fanning the cards, you're counting them. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. In this case, we have 13 cards. Of course, you're counting to yourself. You ask him, have you thought of a card? He says, yes. You then hand the packet to the spectator. You turn your back and ask him to reach in and pull out whatever card it was that he thought of. In this case, let's say he thought, well, let's use the 8 of hearts. Okay, now remember, your key card is still here on top, the Queen of Spades. You ask him to place his card, the 8 of hearts, face down on the table, and to shuffle the remaining packet of cards. Place those on top of the deck, and then his card goes on top of all that. Now, you can either have him cut the deck. It is unimportant. He can do it this way, or another way might be, just to keep everything consistent, would be to have him pull some cards from the bottom, shuffle those up, and place them on top. Whichever way, it looks impossible that you could possibly have any knowledge of any card that's next to his. Now you start dealing cards. You're going to be looking for your key card, which was the Queen of Spades, and you're showing him cards one at a time. You're explaining what's happening. You know that his card is going to be toward the top of the deck, so you're killing time here, getting rid of all these cards that you don't need, looking for the Queen of Spades, which is your key card. As soon as you hit the Queen of Spades, then you start counting to 13, since that's the number of cards that got pulled out of the deck. Here we are. We've come to the Queen of Spades. At this point, you're probably going to have to stop talking and simply count to yourself. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, and then you know that the next card is going to be his card. So you turn around and say, I get the distinct impression that you thought stop as I showed you this card, and what was your card? And he says the 8 of hearts, and there it is. Would always be 13 away. If he pulled out only 6 cards, it would be 6 cards away, and so forth. Works automatically. All right, our next effect is called a surefire prediction. Once again, we need the spectator from the audience. Sir, we have a pack of cards here. If you would, shuffle those up. You can look at them on the fronts if you like. Make sure they're not stacked in any kind of order or anything like that. All right, fine. Now, we have 2 colors of cards in the deck. We have red cards and black cards. Which would you prefer?
Red.
You want red cards? All right, fine. I'm going to write a prediction on this card, a prediction of something that is going to happen in the future. I'll fold this up, place it in full view. We're going to play a little game with these cards. Here's the way it works. If you'll pick up the deck, please deal the top 2 cards of the deck face up onto the table. Now, since you selected red cards, that leaves me with black. You've turned up a black pair of cards, so I'm going to keep those for me. If it were 2 reds, you would keep those for you. If you had a red and a black, that would be a discard, and we would just place those over here. So if you'll deal the next 2 cards, please. Now we have 2 blacks, so again that goes to me. Oh, I get that pair also. I get that pair as well. You sure you shuffled these? Okay.
Not too good, huh?
2 blacks. A black and a red, nobody gets those. That's a discard. Now we have 2 reds, that goes to your pile. That's a discard. Pair of reds for you. Pair of reds for you. That's a discard. That's a discard. That's a discard. Pair of blacks for me. Another discard. Another pair for me. A pair for you. Another pair for you. A discard. A pair for you. A discard. Another discard. A discard. And a pair for me. Now, I think you'll agree. You shuffle the deck. You did the dealing. There's no way I could have manipulated any of this sort of thing. If you would now, count the number of cards that you have in your packet. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. All right? Now, if you'll count the number of cards in my packet. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. I have 16. You have 12. You'll notice that the prediction I wrote a few moments ago says you will have 4 less cards than I. All right. You can take your seat. Thank you for helping me out. I'll show you exactly how that is done. For this trick, you do need a complete deck of 52 cards. You want 26 reds and 26 blacks. You shuffle up the deck and reach in at random, pull out 4 red cards. Place them in your pocket. Could be 4 black cards, it doesn't matter, but we'll pretend that we've decided on red. We'll place those into the pocket. The rest of the trick is automatic. It works on a mathematical principle, which I won't even begin to try to explain. You set the deck on the table, and you say, we have 2 colors, red or black. Which do you prefer? He said red. If he said reds, you have 4 red cards in your pocket. Then on your prediction, you would immediately write, you will have 4 less cards than I. However, if he said black, he's going to end up with the black cards. You're going to end up with the red cards. You would simply reverse that. You will write, you will have 4 more cards than I on your prediction. From here on out, the rest of it is absolutely automatic. You simply deal cards in pairs. If it comes up a red and black, it's a discard. If it comes up 2 reds, he gets it. All right. Another discard pair, discard, a discard pair. Here's 2 blacks. That would go to you since he chose red. Another pair for me, another pair for me, another pair for me. Quite a run on blacks here. Discard, pair for the spectator, another discard, a discard, a pair for the spectator, another one for the spectator. That's a discard, that's a discard, and that's a discard. Now at this point, you have him count his pile of cards. He in this case would have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 cards. That means I should have 12. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Works each and every time as long as you have a complete deck of 52 cards. Now, It doesn't have to be 4 cards in your pocket. It could be 2 cards, 4 cards, or 6 cards. It must be an even number of cards. And this is one of the few tricks that you can repeat. If you wanted to, you could stick your hand in your pocket and bring these out in sort of a palm. We haven't discussed palming, but a simple substitute for that would be to simply take the deck and just pull them out of your pocket, and under cover of turning your back or saying, I want to get a mental impression, just add them to the top of the deck. It's just that simple. If you have a complete deck of cards now, and doing this the second time, your prediction would be you will have the exact same number of cards as I do. And that's exactly the way it will come out. It's mathematical. As long as you have a complete deck of 52 cards, can't mess it up. Easy stuff.
No matter how you deal, or
No matter. Yeah. Our next effect is called Marlowe's Simplex Aces. It's a very easy version of a classic 4-ace trick. Tell the audience I'm now going to do an effect using 4 special cards out of the deck. These special cards just so happen to be the 4 aces. In order, not that it's particularly important, but in order, I happen to have the ace of spades, the ace of clubs, the ace of diamonds, and the ace of hearts. I'm going to deal the aces out into a row on the tabletop, and on top of each ace, I'm going to place 3 other cards, just like that. Now, believe it or not, by simply giving each card a flick, I can cause that ace to disappear. Same thing with packet number 2. There's the 3 indifferent cards. Give the ace a flick, and the ace is gone. 3 indifferent cards. Give the ace a flick, and it too fades away. And in this pile over here, which has been in full view, I've never touched this, there are the 4 aces. This is a relatively easy routine to do. It does introduce one new little bit of business. It's not really a sleight. It's something called a little finger break. Here's how it's done. First of all, though, if you're going through a deck, this is kind of just a little bit of a finesse. If you're going through a deck hunting for the 4 aces or any of several kinds of cards, a really fast way to do it is to rapidly count through the cards until you come to the first ace, slide that up, and you're clipping it right here with your forefinger. And keep fanning the cards out now, clip that one, and so forth. It is a little bit neater than simply going through, pulling them out one at a time, putting them on the table. It gets the work over with. Now you're going to add these to the top of the deck, flip everything over, and you say this uses 4 cards. Now as you're thumbing over the 4 cards, the deck is allowed to bevel in sort of a loose spread like this, and you thumb over 3 more cards so that you know that that's 3. Without the aces in the way, let me show you what's happening. The little finger, as you square up the 4 aces, you also square up these cards, and the little finger holds what's called a break right there in the deck, so that those 3 cards are separated from the deck and are easy to pick up as a block. So your little finger is there. That's a little bit exaggerated.
now at that angle, pick up that block.
All right, right there. Now you automatically have 3 cards. Okay, you take your aces, you flip them face up, and now you pick up that entire block of cards. The 3 indifferent cards on the bottom, the 4 aces on the top. This is what you actually have. The spectators will only be aware of the aces. You square them up, that is, make sure that they're all aligned, and you're going to peel off the first ace, the ace of spades, and flip it face down. Same thing with the ace of hearts. Peel it off, flip it over using this packet of cards. Same thing with the third ace, flip it over, but this time you're going to flip it over and drop this entire packet right on top of the deck. Now all you have to do is flip this over. You realize now, of course, that since you dropped this entire packet on top of that third ace, that now the top 4 cards are an ace and 3 indifferent cards. Audience doesn't know that. Now you say we will place 3 indifferent cards on top of each ace. These top 3 cards of the deck now, of course, are the other 3 aces. So you thumb off 3 cards and put them on the actual ace. Now you say we will place 3 cards on top of each of the other aces like so. Now the trick is all over except for presentation. You simply pick up the packet, you say the 3 indifferent cards, and the ace vanishes. Same thing here. 3 indifferent cards and the ace disappears. 3 indifferent cards and no ace. And here in full view, I've not touched this packet. There are the 4 aces. Our next effect is called the Sucker Torn and Restored Napkin. It goes like this. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to show you now the first magic trick I ever learned. It's called the world-famous napkin trick. All you have to do is pick up a world-famous napkin. Then you rip it into shreds. I'm very good at this because I used to be a chicken plucker. Don't make much money, but you meet a lot of neat chicks. Now you wad up all the pieces into a little ball, like so. We need to squeeze them down very tightly. And in order to do the trick, I need my lucky coin, which I always carry with me, and we simply wave the coin over those pieces. And believe it or not, when I shake out the pieces, they've gone right back together to form one complete napkin. Now, folks, since this was the very first trick I ever learned, I'm going to teach you how it's done. It's remarkably easy to do. For this trick, of course, you need 2 napkins. Grab yourself a napkin at a party, off the bar, run off somewhere, the closet, the men's room, whatever. Wad a napkin up into a ball and conceal it in the palm of your hand in this natural-looking position. No one will ever dream you're concealing a napkin. If someone at the party waves at you, be sure and wave back. Now, pick up the visible napkin, explain you will now do the world-famous napkin illusion. You are ready. Oh, one other thing you do need. Your magic coin, it could be a car key, anything you happen to have in your pocket to distract attention from the big switch that we're going to do here in just a moment. So you pick this up, announce the napkin illusion, show the napkin on both sides. You proceed to rip it into a bunch of little pieces, wad those pieces up into a ball. You have to make sure that they're all tightly squeezed together so you don't lose one of them during the switch. And here's what the switch looks like. You simply take the ball of pieces and you place it here in this hand. This hand dives to the pocket. Now, the instant that hand goes to the pocket to get the coin, this hand is switching napkins. You simply wave the coin, shake out the complete napkin, and take your bows. However, should you be so unfortunate as to accidentally drop these pieces or somebody accidentally sees them, you're stuck. So you have no choice in that case but to simply blow on them just a bit, and believe it or not, when you do, the torn pieces also go right back together to form one complete napkin. All right, here's how that's done, and Ed, our napkin supplier, needs to get me 2 more napkins. I thought I had enough, but I don't. Actually, the secret of the trick, you will need 4 napkins every time you perform this. The secret of this trick basically is finger palming, and thank you. What you do before you start, you have a napkin that you roll up into a tight little ball, and you place it in your side jacket pocket. Could be your trousers pocket, whatever. It works a little bit better. It's the same pocket that has your key, your coin, whatever you're going to use. Now you take another napkin, also wad it up into a ball, and you can keep it finger palmed if you like. You can simply lay the napkin ball here and have that behind something, whatever. This you won't need for just a little bit. Now you pick up the napkin, getting the other napkin, the rolled up napkin, in the finger palm type position. You shake the thing out, show it back and front. At this point, this hand is completely hidden, of course. Finger palm with both hands, even though this hand doesn't need to. It just makes it look more consistent. Now you proceed to rip this up into a bunch of little pieces. You wad them up and you squash them into the napkin that you've already balled up. It's just like this. You have this in the finger palm and you just squash them right on top there. So it looks like you only have just the pieces. Now as you place it back in the hand, you're going to turn them over and finger palm the torn pieces while you say, we must make sure this is squashed down. What I'm really doing when I do that is I'm just sort of making sure it all goes into the finger palm and nothing's sticking out. All right, now you go over here. This hand goes to the pocket with the torn pieces. Dump the torn pieces in your pocket, pull out the coin, wave the coin, shake it out, and there it is. Now you apparently are going to explain how the trick is done. And you tell the audience you need an extra napkin. When no one's looking, you say, you simply wad this up into a ball and then do the joke about palming it in this natural-looking position. Then you pick up the visible napkin and you say, now you're ready to perform. Oh, you do need one more thing. You accidentally on purpose forgot to tell them about the coin. You go in, you show the coin, put the coin back, and then finger palm the complete napkin that you placed there to begin with. All right. Now you pick up the napkin, start ripping it into pieces, wad up the pieces, squash them into this finger-palmed whole napkin like you did before. You show that. Once again, you place this here, squeezing the torn pieces into the finger palm while the other napkin rides on top. You place what are apparently the pieces here. This hand, I say, in the instant this hand hits the pocket. And when I do that, I say, the instant that hand hits the pocket, I just dump the pieces. You say all the attention is down here. This hand switches napkin balls. It's just that simple, nothing to it. Shake this out, show that it's restored, and then say, whatever you do, never ever let anybody see these pieces here. Because if you do, you've ruined the entire trick. I've discovered, however, that if you do accidentally expose this, you simply blow, and sure enough, the torn pieces also go right back together. Our next trick is the classic cut and restored rope. I show a piece of rope. I demonstrate that it's a good, solid piece of rope. And I want to find the exact center of the rope, which is usually halfway between the two ends. We pull that right up here. I have a pair of scissors in my pocket. We'll simply slice right through the rope, creating two lengths of rope. Now I'm going to tie the two pieces of rope together in a knot, like so. And we'll wad all this up into the hand. Now, by simply snapping, making a wave, believe it or not, those two pieces melt right back together to form one complete rope. This is a method for the cut and restored rope that was invented by U.F. Gen Grant. And very simply, you clip one end of the rope between the thumb and the side of the hand. The other piece of rope you clip between those two fingers. You now make sort of an L formation with your right thumb and forefinger, and you stick that right into. You pull around and you say, there it is, the exact center of the rope. Now you're apparently going to place the exact center right there in your hand. What's actually happening behind the scenes is that as you come up, this thumb and forefinger are going to pinch that section of the rope and pull up, and the actual center drops behind your hand. Let me do that for you one more time, see if we got a good angle on this. The center is here. Your thumb and forefinger are extended. That's exaggerated, but I'm trying to show you as clearly as possible. You come up, you pinch this piece of the rope. It's this piece right here. This piece of the rope, the actual center, you're going to actually let drop. It gets caught right there, and you pull that up. And so now actually you're cutting the end of the rope instead of the center. One more time, all right. You have this here. You come up, the thumb and forefinger pinch this here. You simply pull that right up there to the top of the hand. From the back side with the timing, it simply looks like you picked up a loop and placed it there. Now, you slice through what appears to be the center of the rope. It's really the end, and if you keep these two pieces, the same piece of the short rope, if you pinch that with your thumb and let everything else drop, then you get the illusion of having two ropes. Actually, you have this situation here, a little tiny piece with the longer piece looped around it. Now, using your hands as cover, you simply tie the little loop around the large piece of rope. You're just doing this. And it looks as if you have two ropes tied together. As you start winding the rope around your hand, this hand grabs the fake knot in sort of a finger palm type position. So you wind the rope around the hand, this goes into a finger palm position, and it starts sliding the knot off the rope as you wind it. It just comes right off the end, right there. Now you can pick up your scissors, place them in your pocket, you could get a magic coin to dump the knot, whatever, and you simply let this uncoil, and the rope is restored. This is a classic of magic called the four-coin assembly. And for this effect, you use a handkerchief, just a regular pocket handkerchief with a menu printed on it, which we will spread out like so. Also, we use 4 coins. I just happen to have Chinese coins. We'll place one in each corner. And also you use 2 $50 bills, such as you have in your pocket right now at home. Now, with these bills, I can cover up the coins in various ways. That is to say, I can cover up the coins in this row. I can cover up the 2 coins in this row. I can cover up coins in a vertical row. I could cover up coins even diagonally. There's various ways I could do it. If I were to take one of these coins and place it underneath the handkerchief like so, listen. I don't know if you heard that or not, but look. The first coin penetrates upward through the handkerchief, joining this coin. We'll do that one more time. Take this coin from this corner. We place it underneath the handkerchief, and listen. It penetrates right through, joining those other coins. We'll do it one last time, except this time I'm going to make it pass invisibly through the air. We take the last coin, toss it, and this time it penetrates through the bill, giving us all 4 coins in that corner. Here's how it's done. It uses basically a routine more than it uses sleight of hand. You need your 4 coins, 2 bills, a handkerchief. It should be an opaque handkerchief, that is one that you cannot see through. You can use bills if you like. It might be easier when you're learning to use 3x5 index cards or something like that. Just for purposes of demonstration, it occurs to me that you might be able to see what's going on better with the bills, so we'll put the cards away. Now, I'm going to do this, I think, a little bit sideways at times, and that is I'm going to sort of stand around here so they can see what's going on underneath. I don't know if this is the best way to explain this or not, but I think you'll be able to get the idea. We'll pretend that the audience now...
Over there. Stand over there.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, we're just going to move the camera. Okay. You place your 4 coins here. Now, the first thing that happens on this trick is a steal. It's not a difficult thing to do unless you're working on a hardwood floor or a completely bare hardtop table or counter. Then this trick will not work. You're going to need to do this on a table with a pretty good drape on it. You can do it on the floor, on a carpeted floor. If you want to do it on any other kind of surface, your best bet is to get a close-up pad. You need a surface with a little bit of give for the steal of that first coin. And here's how you set up for it. You take your two covers, your two bills, whatever you have, and you say, I can cover up coins in this row. I can cover up coins in this row. I can even cover up coins in a vertical row. Now, as you say that, this hand, the right hand, is going to steal that coin. Now, without the bill in the way, I'll show you what happens. Pretend I have a bill here. Your thumb, through the bill or the card, is pushing down on the side of the coin, allowing the other side to tilt up so that your fingers can get in underneath it. Yeah, I already said that. Okay, so you cover it up through the bill, you're pressing with your thumb, and the fingers are able to pick it up so it's right there. So it's not a difficult move, it just requires some timing. So once again, the timing for that would be I can cover up bills this way, I can cover them up this way, I can cover them up this way, you do the steal, then you say I can even cover them up diagonally, and what's actually happening is you're going to pick this up, but you're going to wait until this bill covers, and you move this over here. So now you've loaded that first coin up to that corner. There is nothing left here. So that's the first part of the trick. Now you pick up one of the coins in this corner. You lift up this corner of the handkerchief, and you apparently are going to slide that coin underneath and make it penetrate. What you're really doing, without the handkerchief in the way, pretend this is holding the handkerchief, you're actually clipping that coin as your hand moves underneath the handkerchief. It gets clipped right here. It's a very natural move. The only thing...
Without the hanky.
Okay, without the hanky, it looks like this. This is holding a hanky.
Turn this way a little bit.
You're going to come underneath, and as you do so, you're just going to leave that coin
One more time.
between those two fingers.
One more time.
All right?
Perfect.
Okay. The only thing you must watch out for on this move, is not a hard move, is your timing. You mustn't break the flow of this hand moving underneath. It should look like this and not like this. So it has to be smooth, just right in. And you go over and you do that. The coin, remember, is still here. It appears to have penetrated. You can show your hand very cleanly, and the bill on both sides. You come back and place that right on top of your hand as it withdraws. So now the coin is underneath. Without the handkerchief, it would look like this. Pretend this is still holding the handkerchief. You come over, you place that there as the hand comes away. You're still going to be clipped sort of like this, so you just move one finger out of the way. Okay, so you would have it like so. Then this gets covered up. Only thing you must be careful about here is not to clink, or that's called talking, not to make those coins talk. You just want to lay it down so that they're totally separate. Now you do the exact same thing here. Lift this up, go underneath, clipping the coin in your left hand. Give it that. Show once again that the coin has penetrated through. Once again, you're doing the steal here. You cover this up like so. A little difficult to, it might be easier to keep them all in a row or something. You're laying that down. Now the last coin is a swindle because, of course, there's nothing there. So you can simply pick this up, pretend to pick up a coin, which there's no reason to doubt because you can see there's nothing else there. And you're going to pretend to make that drop right through the center of the bill, giving you the fourth penetration. Okay, welcome to Lesson 5. We have some, at the end of the lesson, the cups and balls is pretty heavy-duty magic. I will teach you easy ways to do it and ways to do it that will keep you busy for a while. But First of all, I thought to help balance that out, I thought I would make the first thing just incredibly simple. You may already know this even. Uses a bill of some sort, a rubber band, and 2 little paper clips. And I wasn't really going to do this on the course, but the story that goes with the trick is so nice and it makes so much sense that I thought we would go ahead and teach this one to you. I don't do the story terribly well, but it's a really nice story, and it takes what basically is a self-working magic trick and makes it look like something really interesting. It's called Sergeant Elastic and the Clip Artists, and like I say, I don't do the story well, but it has to do with a bank, and the bill represents the bank. We fold it like so. This is Sergeant Elastic, and he's being tipped off that some clip artists are about to knock over this bank. So he gets in there and he's hiding out, waiting for these guys to show up. In the meantime, the clip artists get tipped off that Sergeant Elastic is in there. So they close the front door of the bank and they barricade the thing, which we will demonstrate with a little paper clip here, like so. Then, to make sure he can't get out the back door, they barricade that as well, which we'll demonstrate with this other paper clip, like so. There we go. I folded that a little bit too deep. Yeah, that'll work. All right. And then as the story progresses, they think they've got him, but what they didn't know was that Sergeant Elastic was also a magician. And Rusty, if you'll step up here for just a second, I need a hand. I want you to hold on to Sergeant Elastic. You'll see what happens here as I pull the bill. Watch. And you see Sergeant Elastic walked away from the bank with 2 clip artists handcuffed together. He always gets his man. All right. Now, this is a very easy thing to do. It absolutely works itself, and it really is more of a puzzle than a trick unless you have a good story to go with it. And about 2 o'clock this morning, I happened to remember that Harry Lorraine had published a nice routine for this. So we are including it, so you have something real easy to do that won't take a whole lot of practice, and you can do it anywhere that you happen to find these items. Probably the hardest part of the trick is getting everything apart at the end. There we go. All right. Very simple. What you do is take a bill, you fold it in half lengthwise. That's not absolutely necessary, but you could do it without first folding it that way. But then you have a problem, potentially, of maybe the rubber band is not quite going to fit well or whatever. It just looks a little bit better if you fold it like so. Now you place the band. I'm going to do this from your viewpoint. Pretend that you are setting this up. You place the band right there on the bill, and then you fold over about a third, or a little bit more than a third, about like so. And here is the band right here. And you place the first paper clip over both thicknesses of the bill. You would actually have it a little bit farther from the end. Now, you're going to fold the rearmost section back, like so, and you're going to place the second paper clip onto this section of the bill and the center section of the bill. In other words, you don't want to do this. You don't want to do a thing like this where the clip is covering everything, because then the trick won't work. What you do is place it right here in the center fold and then on the outside fold. Now, what happens to check this as you're doing it, if you hold it one way, you should be able to see one clip. Flip it the other way, you should be able to see the other clip, and you can't really see the second clip, whichever way you hold it, or you can only see a little tiny tip of it. Now, you ask somebody to hold on to the rubber band, which they do, and you pull, and the things automatically all link together onto the rubber band, and the paper clips link into each other. Now, let me back up and do that for you once more, because I managed to mess it up. Now, you still have an okay effect if you ended up the way I did. It is possible that sometimes you're going to end up like this. It's better when it happened the way it did in performance. And the rubber band apparently penetrates the dollar bill, and the paper clips link onto the rubber band and all that. It really makes a nice looking effect. Let me get this all unlinked and we'll do it for you one more time. And also in your instructions are some notes as to why what just happened, how to avoid that, or if it does happen, how to get out of it. It's a very simple way to do that. So once again, I'm going to do it for myself this time because I was doing it backwards and couldn't see what I was doing. You simply load the rubber band on, fold over a bit of that, put the first clip on, fold the next clip back, fold the next half back and put the clip on the other side. It goes to the center so that you're clipping the rear 2/3 of the bill on the front and the rear, the front 2/3 of the bill. Well, you see what I mean. Okay. Then you do that. Okay, and once again that happened, which is not the most desirable conclusion. But let me see what he says in his afterthoughts as to how you avoid that, because that will happen from time to time. Oh, it's a matter of moving the rubber band over to the outer left, single end, just before the guy grabs it, which I did. But I didn't have anybody to grab it, and that's why it ended up on the middle of the bill. So anyway, very simple self-working trick, and has a nice little story, and it's something that you can do practically right away once you rehearse the story, and using objects that are readily available just about anywhere you go. Okay, this is something, next thing is something called Grant Superior Card Trick, and this is just in case you have been working on some of this stuff for a few weeks and you don't think it's really confusing enough. This is really a confusing thing. So the best way to demonstrate this probably is to ask you both to come up, and I'll have one of you stand on either side, because this is one of those things that you would do around a table and you need people to put their fingers on things and so forth. This is a sucker card trick, which is very rare in card magic. We did, I think it was the last lesson, the sucker torn and restored napkin thing, where you pretend to explain something and it turns out being something entirely different. Well, here's how this one goes. I have a pack of cards here, as you can see, just a pack of cards. And I'm going to ask you to reach in and just pull out any card you like. And I won't look. You can show it to Jim, though, if you like. And turning back around. Now, I'm going to ask you to stop as I start pulling little packets of cards off the top of the deck.
Stop.
All right. Place your card back in. Now, Rusty, it looks like this is fair, and there's no way I could know your card. But the fact is, all I have to do is peek at this card, the 8 of diamonds, before I place it back on there. And now I know that your card is next to the 8 of diamonds. That's one of those magician's things that we should never ever explain to you, you see, but I know. Now, I have no idea what your card is, but I know if I deal through the deck, sooner or later I'm going to come to the 8 of diamonds, and when I come to the 8 of diamonds, then I know that your card is going to be the very next card in the deck. All right, so there's your card. Now, I still don't know what it is, but would you place your finger on it, please? Just like that. Now, we have another card here, and we'll call this an indifferent card. And Jim, I'll ask you if you would just to place your finger on that one. And that's the mystery card. We don't know what that is. You know what that is, and I guess you do too. But and of course, this is the only card I know for sure, and that's my card, which is the 8 of diamonds. And I'm going to place that into my pocket. Oh, wait a minute. Something's wrong. Well, that's not my card. Wait a minute. What was the card that you looked at?
Let me tell you what this
Yeah.
is.
Uh-huh.
2 of spades.
2 of spades? Well, let's take a look here. Let's take a look. Oh, wait a minute. No, that's my key card, which I had in my pocket just a second ago. That's the key card. And the mystery card that nobody knew. What was it? 2 of spades? Let's take a look and see what we got. And there we are. Okay? All right.
Nice.
You can have a seat, and we'll show you how that's done. This is real easy to do. It's a little bit confusing to remember at first, but basically this is a presentation piece. Here's the secret of this trick. Remember, I started off with the key card, in this case the 8 of diamonds, on the bottom of the deck. What you didn't know was that I actually had 2 key cards. I had 2 8 of diamonds on the bottom of the deck. Could be any cards you want, but you have 2 cards that are the same on the bottom of the deck. Then you ask the spectator, and you can fan these out. It looks perfectly fair as long as you don't do that, you know, at the bottom. I mean, you can do a nice spread, and everything looks fine. And then you have the spectator select a card. So let's say in this case, he selects the 8 of spades. All right, fine. Then you start doing the Hindu shuffle, and you learned all about this a couple of weeks ago, and you tell him to say stop anywhere he does. And you put his card, the 8 of spades, right there. And then you explain to him that it's very easy to find his card because you're going to peek at this card, which is the 8 of diamonds. And we're just going to put that right there. Now, the rest of it pretty much works by itself, except I forgot to show you one thing. Before you start the trick, you must have one card in your shirt pocket or your jacket pocket or whatever. So that's there to begin with. And now you've had him select a card, and now you've gone through the Hindu shuffle. You've shown him the 8 of diamonds. You place it right back on top. And then you explain that by simply dealing through the deck, and start dealing pretty quickly because it's going to take you a while to get there. And all this time you're talking, I know when I get to the 8 of spades that your card will be the next card. So you turn up an 8 of spades, or 8 of diamonds, I mean. And then I turn to the guy who selected the card, and I say, this has to be your card. Place your finger on that, please. Now, I still don't know what your card is, but I know that that's your card because it was next to this one. And, of course, what you have here is the duplicate 8 of diamonds. So he puts his finger on that. Then you say, now this next card will be a mystery card. Nobody knows what this is. You know what this card is. I know what this card is. That's my key card. But nobody knows what this card is. So, sir, would you place your finger on that card, which he does. And then you say, now, since this is the card that I know, the 8 of diamonds, this is my card. I'm going to keep this for myself. Now, you go into your shirt pocket, and the minute it gets in, you just leave it there and slip out the other one. And you say, oh, wait a minute. That's not my card. Sir, what was the card you were looking at? And he says 8 of spades. And you say, well, let's take a look. And now he has, oh, wait a minute, that's where my card went. That's the key card. And then this was the mystery card over here, and you selected what? He says the 8 of spades. And you pick that up, and there you go. Now, what it looks like to the audience is that you have caused 3 cards to change places. If you think about it for a second, you really haven't. You've only made 2 cards change places as far as the effect goes. But because of the way the thing is presented, it looks as if all 3 cards have sort of done a round robin, and it looks absolutely impossible. Which, of course, it would be if you didn't have the extra card. Yeah, you could learn all the sleight of hand in the world and never, ever do a trick like that, as well, at least, as when you were using an extra card.
You don't buy that deck like that, do you? Just buy some extra cards?
Well,
You buy a deck that's got
yeah.
2.
What I did,
key cards.
what I did this morning, this is the deck I opened up last night to use at the Meadows, and then I always carry 2 or 3 decks, and so I simply pulled out this deck, and I looked at the bottom card. It happened to be the 8 of spades, so I pulled out another deck, and I just found the 8 of spades and stuck it on the bottom. So I had 2 8 of spades on the, or 8 of diamonds, I'm sorry, on the bottom of the deck. So that's all I did. I always have 2 or 3 decks with me. Because a lot of times at the Meadows or wherever I'm working, I do tricks where somebody takes a card, they sign their name to it, they tear it up, we burn it up, we do whatever, and then the card is pretty much ruined, and you just have to throw it out. And you can get away with that for a while, but then sooner or later you're down to working with a deck that only has 32 cards. So I always carry backup decks, and that's where you get your extra card. It's just from another deck just like it.
I imagine that Grant's Superior card was designed by a fellow named Grant.
Yeah, it was designed by U.F. Grant, who was one of, he's now deceased unfortunately, but he was one of Magic's most clever inventors of Magic. Probably half the stuff, the big boxes and tubes and stuff you see in the shelves in here, were invented by Jen Grant. And he invented a lot of things that don't really require apparatus also. The cut and restored rope that I taught you was invented by Jen Grant way back in the 30s. So really a magical genius. And I often wonder about people like that seem to have the ability to sit down and think up all these things. You know, it must take a really special kind of brain. Yeah. Next trick is a real nice one. All you need is a handkerchief. Doesn't necessarily have to be a silk handkerchief, although it works a little bit better with a silk handkerchief or a silk type handkerchief. This is something called the dissolving knot. And very simply, what you do is tie a knot into the handkerchief. And the question before us today is, when is a knot not a knot? And the answer is, well, who cares really? And that's the dissolving knot. It's a little bit hard to explain. It's very easy to do once you get used to it. It's going to feel a little bit unnatural probably when you start, but you twist up the handkerchief into sort of a rope-like formation, and you cross the right end of the handkerchief over the left end. All right? Now you reach through the loop and grab this end. Now already, slowing it down, you see that's totally unnatural, because I'm going to pull my hand back out. It's going to make a knot. Now if you really did that for real, this is what you would get. You see, nothing would happen. But the idea is to do it quickly enough and smoothly enough that nobody really thinks about that. So once again, the right hand end goes over the left hand end. You reach through, you pull. Now you're going to do the exact same thing that I just did, except you're going to catch a little piece of fabric here with your left hand. Now they can't see that because that's all behind, but you're going to catch that and sort of pinch it, and that causes a false knot to form. You can shake that knot, whatever. It looks like a perfectly good knot, and yet with a very gentle tug, the thing just dissolves. That's a real hard thing to explain, although it's not that hard to do. So let me be rude for just a second, turn my back on you, and you cross the right end over the left end. You reach through the loop here. You're clipping this part of the handkerchief right here with your left fingers. You're pulling here, right back through the loop, still keeping all that clipped, and you keep that clipped until you've tightened that up pretty good. Now because fabric will tend to cling to itself and so forth, that tends to keep all that locked in there, and it looks okay. Then you simply do that, and it dissolves. Does that make sense? Because it really is, it's hard to explain, but it's very easy to do. Done up to speed, you just simply do that. And it's done so quickly. Whoa, wasn't a very good one, was it? It's done so quickly that nobody has a chance to see that you've done something really irrational. Now the other thing is, you saw me do this, but I didn't really talk about it, is when you pull it down, as long as you're keeping all this clipped here, you can really do a number on this thing. They can't tell that your fingers are in there. You can really make it look like you're tightening that thing up, and it sounds good. And then you just do that, and it dissolves. So it's a simple trick, but it's a good trick. It's still being done by a lot of magicians. Harry Blackstone Jr., when he does his classic routine where he borrows a gentleman's handkerchief from the audience, he gets the handkerchief, and it's eventually going to float all over the stage. It's called the dancing handkerchief. But just before doing that, he does this very simple little thing. And he uses the exact same pattern that I told you. The question before us today is, when is a knot not a knot? And the answer? Well, who cares, really? And so that's what he does. Anyway, it's a neat little thing that you can do, and you can do it impromptu. And it also, once you've learned it, enables you to do what we're going to learn next. And for that, let's see, Randy, if you would step up. Rusty, I'm sorry, I do that every week.
Okay.
I think by this week I would have this down a little bit better. Okay, tell you what, if you'll hold out your your right arm, just like so, I'm going to take this handkerchief, sir, and I'm going to tie it right around your wrist. Nice and tight. And then we're going to make one more knot right around your wrist, like so. Now, please don't move your arm no matter what you do. Are you ready? Here we go. 1, 2, 3. And you see, we penetrate right up through your arm. Now, if you'll stand there for just a second, I will need to use your arm to teach what's going on. You're using the exact same knot as before, so hold your arm out. Yeah, there we go. Right end goes over the left. You reach through and pull that, so you're making the fake knot. Now, in this case, it's the same thing. Now, you can see what happened there. I let it come undone. right over left. There we go. Reach through and pull. Now, when I explained it earlier, I actually stuck my arm through and pulled it. What I really do when I'm performing it is right over left, and I just stick a couple of fingers through and pinch that. Okay. And it doesn't matter, whichever way you want to do it. Now you're pulling this as tight as you can on the spectator's arm, and then once it tightens up, you can let go, and that will stay there. Now, this is the only critical thing. You have to take the end in your right hand, move it around the arm to the left, going around this way, and it's got to come around that way, and it's got to come in front, as you look at it, in front of this end. All right. Now you come up and tie a single overhand knot in the rope, or in the knot, or in the silk, and you pull, and as you pull, the original fake knot dissolves, and the knot that I just tied tightens up. Okay? So that's what that is. Now let me do it one more time, and I'll show you a little bit of finesse with this that helps out the effect a little bit. Okay, right over left, reach through, pull that through, tighten it up. The other bit of finesse, I'm doing it this way so you can see, it should preferably be done the other way. In other words, if the audience is out there, then I want you standing on this side so nobody can see. Yeah, but this was the easiest way to do it. Okay, now this comes around here, remembering to, as you look at it, to go in front of that one. All right, then tie it in a single overhand knot. Now you can let go. Everything is there. Now at this point, I would suggest bring up your other arm, sir, and I want you to clasp your hands together. Now this way, because otherwise maybe somehow you pulled it off the end and then stuck it back real fast, which you could never get away with, but people are weird and they think the hand is quicker than the eye and stuff like that. So then simply give it a tug. And there you go, right through the arm. Cheap way to sew a lady in half. Okay, thanks, Rusty. Nice trick. Now we get to heavy-duty magic, and we had a debate about this yesterday as to how appropriate this would be to do. It is in phases, and I'm going to teach it to you. There's 4 phases. You can make this as simple or as complicated as you want. It depends on the amount of practice that you put into it. It's the cups and balls. It is technically possible with certain kinds of styrofoam, they call them cold and hot cups. For coffee and things, there are certain brands of those that work well, although your best bet is to get a ready-made set of cups and balls, which are sold at all magic dealers, including this one. Could we have some samples? I forgot I was going to do that, of cups and balls. Like maybe a little plastic set and then one of the metal set. Well, I have a metal set here, just one of the plastic sets. I tried real hard during this course to only do magic that you did not need to buy anything special for. But the cups and balls is such an important, thank you, such an important thing in the history of magic, and also if you can master a really good cups and balls routine, then you have a lot of foundation in sleight of hand, in misdirection, in routining, and so forth. It's like one of the building blocks of sleight of hand magic. Anyway, there are certain kinds of cups that you can get, just regular old drink cups, that will work. Your best bet, however, is an actual set of cups and balls. These come in many sizes, many prices. This little set here is $3, and this was my original set of cups and balls. This set is $39.95, and I have a feeling this is the chop cup. Yeah, this has an extra little gimmick in it. I think he also... Yeah.
The aluminum are $10 worth.
Yeah. And then you can also...
$10 worth than that.
Right. You can get them as cheap as $19.95 or as cheap as $3, or if you can find it, take a little bit of experimenting. If you can find the type of styrofoam drink cups I'm talking about, those will work. What you're looking for is a cup...
Wouldn't last very long, though, would they? Styrofoam, for crying out loud?
No. I'm just trying to tell you how you can do it, because we did make a promise that we're not going to teach you anything that you need special equipment for. Well, we've just broken the promise. But I thought this was an important enough trick to break the promise, and I just wanted to point out that there are some cups that you could use. There are situations, if you were doing company picnic or something and somebody asks you to do a trick, there are times when you'd be much better off if you had the right kind of styrofoam cups there already to use those, as opposed to saying, okay, now let me haul out these special looking cups. It would look much more amazing. So what you're looking for is a cup with a little ledge here, and the ledge is there to keep the cups from nesting too closely. And also on the top they have a little depression. The reason for that is that now you have room between the cups to hold a ball without the cups looking weird. With a lot of paper cups that you would find, if you placed the ball in between and then nested it, you would get this sort of thing. It would be very obvious because of the space that something is up in the top of that cup, which you don't want. So, assuming you can find cups around the house or wherever that let you have that amount of space, and you got about that much space in top for the ball, then that's all you really need. Or you can get some of these things. So anyway, that's what we have. Let me show you how the routine looks. And as I mentioned earlier, this can be absolutely as simple or as complicated as you want to get it. This is in 4 phases. If you learn phase 1, you have a very easy-to-do routine that you can learn with almost no practice. If you then learn phase 2 and add it to it, you have a little bit better routine. If you take the trouble to learn phase 3, then you have an even better routine, and if you learn phase 4, then you've got a real knockout. But I wouldn't recommend sitting down and trying to learn all 4 phases on the same day or anything like that. I would work on the first phase until it is mastered, and then work on the second phase and so forth, one step at a time. Anyway, here's how the routine looks.
They look like Morris's. You better tell them what they are.
They don't look like Morris's. See the difference? These are Paul Fox cups, which Morrissey sort of ripped off the design a little bit of the Paul Fox cup. Paul Fox was a guy that lived years and years ago, and he designed these cups, which are sort of the Rolls-Royce of cups and balls, and they're now $100 if you can get them. The guy is now remanufacturing them. I managed to get, this is one of the original sets, managed to get these for $50, and they need a little bit of polishing, but nice set of cups. Anyway, here's how the routine goes. You explain to the audience a little illusion, one of the oldest illusions known to man, using 3 balls and 3 cups. Very simple illusion. We're also going to use a magic wand. Your instructions don't really mention a wand, but I'm going to teach it with a wand. We'll explain that in just a second. So anyhow, 3 cups, 3 balls. I'm going to take one of the balls and place it right there on the center cup. We now stack the cups like so. Believe it or not, by simply tapping, I can cause one of those balls to penetrate right through the bottom of that cup. Do it for you one more time, look. Just do like that. Place this here and this here, and give it a little tap. And sure enough, the second ball penetrates right through the bottom of these solid cups. Once more. Place this one here, and this one goes here. Well, get in there. And this one goes here. This one goes on top, and the third ball penetrates right through the cups. Now, in the ancient days in Egypt, when they performed the cups and balls, they used to do something rather unusual. They would take one of the balls, place it here in the hand, and give it a tap, and believe it or not, by simply tapping, that ball would reappear right there inside of the cup. I'll do that for you one more time. Look, there's many variations. If I take one ball and place it underneath this cup, if we take one ball and place it underneath that cup and one ball underneath this cup, I'm going to slide this one forward and give it a tap. Rusty, would you mention cup 1 or cup 3? Just one of those 2.
3.
3? All right, good. We give that a tap like that, and look, the ball disappears, and it jumps right over to join the ball under cup number 3. We can do the same thing this way. Give it a tap, and sure enough, the ball reappears over here underneath this cup, leaving us right back where we started with 1, 2, 3 balls and 3 cups. Now, if I were to take this ball and place it in my pocket, and then place the second ball into my pocket, and then place the third ball into my pocket, like so, you might wonder how many balls would be in the pocket and how many we could make come back or whatever. You simply give them a little bit of a tap, and sure enough, as you can see, the balls come right back underneath each and every cup. We can do that one more time. If we take the cups and sort of nest them like so, and take one ball and place it in the pocket, two balls, place it into the pocket, place the third ball into the pocket like that, and now, how many balls would you say are underneath the cups? What's that? How many? Just take a guess. It's okay.
3.
3? Well, we don't have any balls there, and we don't have any balls there. Actually, there's only one ball left underneath the cup, but it has a goiter problem, and it sort of grew a little bit like that. Okay. Thank you. That's a very basic cups and balls routine, and I made it even a little bit more basic than in the instructions. In the instructions, at the very last phase, you would end up with the 3 cups out like this. You put all the little balls in your pocket, and you would end up with a lemon underneath each cup. And it tells you exactly how to do that. I'm not going to get into it because I think to start off with, the one large thing is better. And not only that, I'm not sure that anybody really cares. You have such a nice surprise with the big ball that I think it's fine to do it the way I showed you. Now, backing up, this is in 4 phases, and as I say, working with phase 1, that's the easy one, and if you learn that by itself, you still have an okay trick. Of course, one of the secrets is you do have 4 balls instead of 3. This one was in my hip pocket. We won't need that for phase 1, so I'll just sort of dump that for the moment. Now, what you do is stack the cups like so, and in that center cup, you place a ball. Now, the key move to the routine is that if you take these, you can sort of hold them in like Dixie cup dispenser position, or whatever you want to call this. If you take these cups and do this, that ball will not fall out. It's, what is it? It's inertia, I guess, or some law of physics that makes this work. Now, if you do it too slowly, of course, it will drop out and be seen. But if you do it with it doesn't have to be done quickly. It's just a certain amount of rhythm that you're doing like so, and you can stack these cups, and that ball remains invisible. It's a very natural move, and it looks good, and there's no reason for anybody to suspect anything. So, you can do like so. Now the ball is here underneath that cup. You place one of the balls on the top, you stack the other 2 up, and give them a tap, and it appears as if the ball penetrates right through the bottoms of the cups. And of course you would stress if you were doing this, the bottoms really are solid. Okay? Now we still have a ball in that center cup. It's going to be resting on the first cup, but if you turn it this way, it of course is in the center cup. So you still have that. So now you're back where you started. 1, 2, here's the extra ball. 3. And you do this. Bang. It also penetrates right through the cup. And still, of course, right there in the center cup, you have the 4th ball. Now you just do the same thing over again. Sometimes at this point I like to make it a little variation, and I say, well, if the ball can penetrate through 1 cup, then it can certainly penetrate through 2 cups. Well, it doesn't really make any difference to you where the ball goes, because it still is going to penetrate. The only difference is at that point you would end up with the ball in the top cup and not in the center cup. So that is the basic move on which cups and ball routines are based. It's just that very simple thing. It'll take a little bit of rhythm to get the thing down, but it's not hard to do, and it doesn't have to be done fast. You can do it very casually. And that ball, I suppose, I don't know the law of physics, but I suppose what's happening is that your hand is going down faster than the ball can drop. That's that's as a good an explanation as I can make. So, you've just finished up the penetration phase of the routine. You have a ball in the center cup, and you've made 3 balls penetrate. So at this point, you're like so. And that's the end of phase 1. And if you stop there, that would still be an okay trick. And it's pretty easy to learn. So some of this stuff may get a little more complicated, but at least if you learn that part, you have something that you can do while you're working on the rest of it. All right. So, and the 3rd ball penetrates. So now, you lay those back out in a line, and you place the cups down. This is the 2nd phase, right behind each ball. You pick up one of the balls. Actually, you should pick it up with the right hand, and you pretend to place it here. It's just the finger palm. Now, the reason the wand comes in so handy in a routine like this, and I think Ed mentioned this to you a few weeks ago, is that you can immediately grab that wand. You don't have to worry about your hand looking suspicious or whatever. You can pick that up, and it looks very natural. You simply do like that. The ball disappears and reappears under that cup. Now, the reason for that is, the only reason, well, first of all, it's a good effect, but the real reason you want to do that is you want to get the extra ball into your hand for the next phase of the routine. You want to get it finger palmed, and it's a whole lot easier to do what I just showed you than if you somehow kind of tried to do this and sort of let it roll out there or something. Instead of going through all that, you simply pick it up and you have a nice little interlude where you can tap and it reappears. So now you have the extra ball in a finger palm position. Now you're going to apparently place a ball underneath each cup. This is the transposition phase of the routine. So what you really do, and let me move these a little bit, give you a side view. What you're really doing is sticking them both in there. And it's not really a sleight even. It happens like almost automatically. You just have this here, and you just do that. So, I mean, there's no reason to make a big deal out of it. You just do that. Whoops, don't do that. Okay. Anyway, that's all you're doing. Very easy. You get to so now you have two balls here. You get to the second cup, and you pretend to place that in. But what you're really doing, looking at it again from a side view, what you're really doing is sort of grasping the ball here, and instead of letting it roll under, you're letting that ball hit the edge of the cup, and you're letting the edge of the cup knock the ball up into a finger palm position. See what's happening again? It's not really hard. The cup's doing the work for you, and then you just bring your hand away. So there's nothing here. All right, so now you have two here. You pick this one up, you pretend to place it in, it actually goes up into a finger palm position. Now, that might look a little bit suspicious, except it's all timing. The minute this does this, then you, whoops, the minute that you do this, then you just immediately move here and scoop them both in. So you have that ball palmed for such a short period of time that there's really nothing to worry about. It all looks natural. So now you have nothing here, you have two here, and you have two here. So let me back up. I'm going to show you the timing on all this. You have this one finger palmed because you just got through doing that little vanish and it reappeared underneath here. Now you say we'll place a ball underneath each cup. Two go in, this one goes to the finger palm, two go in. So it's just, it's just that easy, and there's nothing to worry about. Now you push forward the center cup, which is already empty, and you say we can use cup number 1 or cup number 3, which would you like to use? Well, it doesn't matter, of course, because you have 2 in each spot. So let's say you said 3, and there went my load ball out of the hip pocket. Not even to that phase yet. All right. So, you said 3. So I say, okay, look. And we tap. Ball disappears. Leave it like that. And then we have 2 here. Now, you cover up one of the balls. And you pick up this ball. Pick it up with your right hand. Pretend to transfer it. Pick up the wand. Do this and this. And now the ball jumps over here. Okay, actually you wouldn't have to cover that up. I don't know why I did that. So backing up, you have 2 here, you have 2 here. You shove that, you ask them to pick 1 or 3. They do, let's say 1, all right. Tap, tap, that disappears. Now we have 2 here. Now you pick up one of the 2, do a fake transfer, keeping it here in the finger palm. Pick up the wand, and it goes, and you tap, and it reappears under here. So that's the second phase of the routine. Any questions there? It's none of this is really all that difficult, but because you've already learned the finger palm, but you do have to memorize the sequence, and that's why I say this is a good one to learn for routining, because you, as you can see, you got like what, close to 100 little drawings there and all that, and you got to keep the sequence in mind. But each sequence is fairly easy to learn, and then eventually, if you want to, you can hook them all together. Now again, this is the end of phase 2, and if you wanted to, you could stop there and still have a pretty good little trick, All right, so now we start phase 3, and you have a ball, of course, already in your finger palm, and you say that leaves us back where we started with 1, 2, 3 cups and 1, 2, 3 balls. Now, you're going to apparently place all the balls in your pocket. This is in the finger palm position. you're going to remove each ball from the cup by tipping it forward like that. And as you tip the ball into your hand, you're letting this ball roll into the cup. Now that's the way they show you in the instructions. That you can do it any way you want to. I'm going to show you another way. I'm not trying to be confusing, but in the instructions they have you doing like this, and the ball drops into the cup. And I think that's a little bit unnecessary. You don't really have to go that far. I think that looks just a tad suspicious, having to do this. So what you can do is this kind of move. Do it sideways, where you simply, or no, let's do it sideways this way, I guess, so you can see. Where you're going to tip that off into the hand, pretend the hand is there, and you just do this, and you just sort of let that, this is real hard to explain in slow motion, you just sort of let that drop to the table, and like so. Does that make sense? It's a little bit hard to demonstrate. So that the timing would be, you would have the ball on top of the cup, this is finger palmed here, you're reaching over to catch this, and that you're reaching over to catch, this needs to be, by the way, right at the base of the hand. You're reaching over to catch that, and the other one simply gets loaded underneath. Okay? So, that's where you are. So we're starting phase 3. You have the 3 balls on top of the cups. You have this right here in the finger palm. You tip that one forward, loading this one underneath. You place it into the other hand, and you pretend to place it in your pocket. You really keep it finger palmed, of course. Now you come over and do the exact same thing here. You're dumping this out, you're loading the other one in. This goes here, and again, you bring it out. Same thing here. This goes here, and then you, of course, you can leave that there. Now, this time you don't need it. So you say, but believe it or not, if we tap, so forth, out come the 3 balls. Okay. Now, at the risk of being boring, I'm going to back up, and I'm going to start the routine from the top before we get to the final phase, just to show you how the continuity goes. This is going to be boring for me. It might be boring for you, I don't know, except sometimes things that I assume that you've already caught on to, maybe you haven't. So let me just back up and show you how the whole thing is flowing to this point now that you know everything that's going on. Okay, you say a little trick with 1, 2, 3 cups and 1, 2, 3 balls. What I'm going to do, and you can point out that they're solid cups and all that, or you can talk about invisible trapdoors, whatever your line of patter is for this, and you show them that it penetrates right through. This is all in the first phase. Another one goes there. Little tap, and it also penetrates right through the bottom of these solid cups. We can do it a 3rd time. Watch. And you can make some sort of comment. This is really difficult this time because you know what I'm going to do. But it happens anyway. So you end up with that. Then you go into phase 2, just placing these down like this. You pick up one of the balls, do the little transfer move like that, and the ball reappears underneath the cup. Now, you say we will place a ball underneath each cup. Oops, get back here. There we go. And I'd like for you, sir, to pick cup number 1 or cup number 3. And they say 1, let's say. So you say, fine, you tap here, that's gone, you tap here, it reappears right there. And then you say, we could also do this. And it reappears right there. Now you're set up for phase 3, just having completed phase 2. By the way, if you're wondering what's going on, these instructions are causing the mat to bulge, and these balls are rolling all over. All right, so you say that leaves us back where we started with 1, 2, 3 cups and 1, 2, 3 balls. Now watch closely, and then you proceed to place these apparently into the pocket, like so. All right. And give them a little tap, and everything comes back, which sets you up for phase 4. And phase 4 is the simple act of nesting these up, and you say, now we will place these into the pocket, like so. And now, sir, how many do you think will be underneath the cup? And the typical response will be, they just don't know. And you say, well, actually there's only 1, but it has a glandular problem, and there it is, or whatever. Now, what just happened there, to back up, I got carried away with myself and I went right into it. This can be in your hip pocket. I just sort of have it wedged right here, as you can see, I think. You want to make sure it's not up there too far or it'll drop out. Or you can have it in your side pocket. The kind of jacket I'm wearing today does not lend itself well to having that in the side pocket because it makes it look like I got a bag full of doorknobs in my clothes. But you could have it there. I had it in the hip pocket. Now the idea behind it is, remember that you've just done phase 3, where the balls have all apparently been placed into the pocket, and then you give it a little tap, and they reappear under cover of that. Now, if you had that if you had the big ball in your side pocket, under cover of actually dropping that last little ball, instead of just leaving that and bringing out your empty hand, you could come out with that ball palmed. And that's a fairly big ball to palm, but it doesn't matter because you'll see why in a minute. So if you were doing it that way, and if whatever you were using, a lemon will fit much better because it's oval shape, or whatever you got. Now, under cover of this surprise, you reveal the first ball. You transfer it to this hand. Now, what's actually happening is you're not going to bring this hand with the palm ball or the lemon up and then try to jam that in. It's too much and it's much too risky. What you're actually doing is you produce this ball, and usually what I do is actually give it a little bit of a kick as I lift up the cup and I let it roll. And you don't let it roll that far, but you just give it a little kick and it rolls forward. This catches, thank you, Jim, this catches people's eyes when you're giving that a little kick. Okay, so it goes forward, they follow that. You're actually bringing the cup almost to your pocket. You're doing like this. Okay, is that? All right. So you can leave your pocket there right up to the last minute, or leave your hand in the pocket, I mean, right up to the last minute, and then you're just doing that. Now, before they have a chance to wonder what the heck you might have done over here that was suspicious, you've revealed that one, and now you've revealed that one. Now you're all set, and you're way ahead of the game, because there you are, but now you pretend to take it a step further and say, now if we place all 3 balls into the pocket, and at that point I sort of did some fakey looking moves just to make it look like something suspicious might be going on. How many balls would be underneath here? And they don't know, and so you show them what you have. Could be a potato or an onion or whatever. Now the way I did it with the hip pocket steel is a little bit different, but it's the same psychology. You've just apparently placed all 3 balls into your pocket. Here we go. All right. And you say, but if we do this, well, they're apparently all in the pocket. If we do this and you tap, they all come right back. Now what I actually did there was I just simply stuck my hand back there and I got it, but then I sort of held my hand on my hip like so. And then you just come back and do the exact same thing. Oops, well, yeah, stack like that, and like so. You can keep that ball from dropping out, by the way, by simply holding your finger, your little finger or your ring finger, right there, and it'll stay put until you stick it on the table and just whip your finger out. And then you go through the whole business, and I would, whoops, I think that really did disappear. I didn't see it drop. I think we actually did make a ball disappear today. What do you know? I wonder where that went. We'll look for it later. But I would actually do some fake-looking things there, and then, you know, whatever, and now how many do you think are here? And believe me, if you lift that up and you got that, then you've got a smash climax. It'll take some work, but now you've really done some magic. This is, these are little cork balls, by the way, which, oh my God. You won't believe this. When I was doing the little thing, and it dropped right into my jacket pocket. That'll never, ever happen in a million years. Well, wouldn't that be a great vanish if you could do that every time?
If you planted it, you couldn't do it that way, huh?
Yes, let me
Pretty good. I didn't see it either.
bulge that thing
I
out.
looked on the ground.
Yeah, boy, if you could really do that, then you... Whoa! Okay, but you couldn't. These are little cork balls, and they have knitting around them, and somebody, or crochet, I guess. Somebody actually sits down, some little old woman somewhere, and she puts little sweaters on these little cork balls, and that's done so that the cork balls won't, as we say, talk or rattle inside the cups. And then this, of course, is just a big version of that, a large cork ball with a little crochet thing around it. But I really think the most impressive finale is something totally different, like a lemon or an onion or a potato, or you could use a kid's rubber ball that you can bounce on the floor to end the trick or whatever. Anyway, it's one of the real classics of magic, and Ed and I debated yesterday as to whether, well, we've actually talked about it for about 2 weeks, and we've debated as to whether this can actually be properly taught and whether anybody's going to be interested and if it's going to be too complicated, but I think it's not really that hard to do if you take it one phase at a time. And it's a real important thing to learn because you have misdirection, you have timing, you have routining, you have palming, you have patter, you got everything involved, and it's all wrapped up in this thing. And the old timers used to say that if you could master the cups and balls, everything else was easy, and I really think that's true. So, hope you enjoy that and hope you work on it, and that takes care of our magic course.